So I got drunk dialed by Andrew Heaton yesterday afternoon.
Not that drunk. That was, to be clear, this was 3 beers in, and I'd had a couple of cheese sticks. So the Heaton drunk scale goes from 1 to 16, and that was maybe a 4. So it was like a tipsy phone call.
No, it was angry. It was a merry call. That's what I was happy. I was happy to get it. I was only upset that I was in the middle of something that I could not take the call live, because if I'm getting a call from that time, like in Edinburgh, I'm like, I know this is Heaton. This is a jolly.
Yeah,
this is among my favorite Heatons.
10:30 p.m. at Edinburgh. It's unlikely Heaton's calling for tax advice right now. It's probably that Heaton has seen something while drunk that he wishes to share with Justin.
Exactly, and I love it. Unfortunately, I was unable to take the call live, but it was a similarly joyful experience to get the voice memo.
Yeah, it was. So I did a meetup in Edinburgh last night, which was a lot of fun. I don't think I did one last year, but I did one 2 years ago, and it's great. Like, people come in a surprisingly big distance. A couple of people came in from Birmingham. There were people that came in from various parts of Scotland, and one of them, who I got along very well with, mentioned at one point that his wife is a big fan of both Great Night and Politics, and she was going to come until she found out that Justin would not be there, and she decided to stay home.
I don't just ride in a sidecar with Andrew Heaton. It's Heaton on the motorcycle and me on the little sidecar on his international adventures.
Yeah, but I found that particularly funny, that there would have been an additional lady present if one Justin Robert Young had been there.
I wonder if I have a larger female demo than you do, because I know that mine is not big, but I don't know whether or not yours is smaller.
I don't know. There was a lady present. There's always been a lady present, but I'd say the ratio of meetups international, in Stockholm, a quarter of the 4 people that came were women. And in Edinburgh, it's maybe like 6 to 1. So I don't know, but that's the international community of Heaton heads. When we get into the American core, I don't really know what the data is.
Jen, do you know what your gender breakdown is on your audience?
A lot more dudes than women.
But like when we're talking a lot more dudes, are we at like 60, 70, 80?
I'd say it's probably 70-30.
70-30. See, that's way higher than both Heaton and I. Like, I would venture to say that I'm probably at like 15%, and I would hazard a guess to say that Heaton is probably somewhere between 15 and 10.
That is generous of you, Justin. I don't know the exact numbers, but I think you're probably correct that I am more gender skewed than you are.
Although
which was originally going to be the title of the show, Gender Skewed, but Jen shot it down.
I just find that even in my day-to-day life, when I tell people what I do, it's more men that are like, oh yeah, I'm like really into podcasting than women. I just feel like, or at least political podcasting, women are into like that true crime stuff. Like,
yes,
right.
I feel like getting dialed into world events for whatever reason seems to be male dominated, which I think is really unfortunate, but it just is what it is.
Maybe instead of Judge Week this year, I should do True Crime Week and even out my demo a little bit.
Ooh, maybe we should all do true crime episodes for Halloween.
Ooh, I like that.
I mean, there's been crime in Congress. I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Dude,
it's mainly financial crimes.
You do a Chandra Levy episode, Jen. And
wasn't that a state thing? I think that was California.
Jen, it would be a historical episode, but there was a member of Congress that shot a guy while at Congress. And I think he ended up getting off on an insanity plea. Like, it was one of the first novel uses of the insanity plea in the United States, and somehow he pulled it off.
I mean, it sounds pretty nutty.
Yeah.
To his credit. Yeah.
Heaton, you're still on for tomorrow, right?
What did I agree to?
You forgot?
Yes.
Never forget.
Oh.
Never forget.
I know where this is going.
The 11th of September. Oh, right. Yeah. I was like, never always remember the 10th of November. That's Guy Fawkes Day, right? And I was like, it's not Guy Fawkes Day already. I would have seen a bunch of drunks light fireworks. But on September 11th, if you see a bunch of drunks light fireworks, you really got to watch out. Well, you know what? In honor of September 11th, Justin, I will be taking a train to London rather than flying. So I'll be in my own way.
There we go.
I'll be remembering.
Learning lessons. By the way, it was Congressman Gary Condit who Chandra Levy was having an affair with, which I was reminded of 9/11 because I believe that story was entirely wiped away from the public consciousness because of 9/11. Gary Condit might have been the greatest beneficiary.
Yeah, but it turns out he didn't kill her though, right? Because he was having an affair with like an intern or I think an intern. And she was like kind of afraid of him and had said that to several people. Then she went missing. And everybody's like, well, he killed her. And I had a friend that was working in the Democratic Party at the time, and we'd have a couple of drinks. And I was like, do you know Gary Condit? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, do you think he did? And he's like, no, come here. He didn't do it. And I was like, that's your secret? He didn't do it? And like, also, how the fuck would you know? You don't know him that well, where he's going to call you and be like, oh man, I killed another intern. God, Mondays, right? But turns out he didn't do it. It was like a drifter.
Well, although I'm reading now, and this again, ChatGPT.
Jen, we're writing your content for you. You're welcome. When you do your true crime angle, this is going to be gold.
An immigrant from El Salvador was convicted in 2010 of Chandra Levy's murder, but his conviction was overturned in 2015 after new evidence cast doubt. Charges were ultimately dropped in 2016. So Chandra Levy is, as we speak, an unsolved murder case.
So maybe Gary Condit did do it.
Maybe, and then Bin Laden covered it up for him.
God, that'd be a hell of a conspiracy, right? If like Gary Condit called up Bin Laden and he's like, listen, I got a big ask. I got a really big ask, but you owe me. We play golf together. I need you to cause a big scene so that the heat is off. Yeah.
All right. So Chandra Levy, we have one for Jen. Heaton, what's your true crime Halloween episode?
Gosh, you know what? I think it'd be, I have a little bit more latitude because I don't have to set it in Congress unless I really want to.
Yeah. No, you can do whatever you want.
What I'm planning on doing for Judge Week this year is I'm going to interview 2 or 3 people about Supreme Court cases as per usual, but I'm going to bookend it. So one of the episodes I've already recorded, Paul Townsend, my personal defense attorney, and I have already done an interview on the defense, the insanity defense, and how that works and how it doesn't work. And I had a listener suggest a really good topic of cruel and unusual punishment, which comes up in constitutional law. It's in the Constitution. And so I'm thinking I might do kind of the history of that. Like, it used to be you could brand horse thieves in the face that said horse thief, and that wasn't considered cruel or unusual. Now we would generally view that as we would now say that that's bad. And then there's other you get drug courts in Florida where it's not necessarily cruel, but it is unusual. Like a judge will make somebody have a sign around their neck that says I did meth. There's just weird stuff like that. So I might do that for a true crime angle. I don't know. I guess I could find an insanity defense or something like that kind of ties into constitutional law, or somebody that got off with murder, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be something grisly or unsolved. That's kind of the rule with true crime stuff. So I would obviously go with Vince Foster, but we all know how that happened.
Yeah. It was my understanding, it was common knowledge that Bill Clinton killed a man. His name was Vince Foster. And did you not know this? Yeah, Bill Clinton killed a guy.
You're not aware? Oh, man. R.I.P. to a legend. Jen, how's paradise?
It's good. It's our last week in the beach house. So getting ready to move into an RV. So we're going from a beach house to a car. It's going to be quite the switch.
Cracker Barrel, here she comes.
I know.
Well, at least you're going from a place with a lot of constant noise, the beach, to next to the airport, right? So that's...
Which, honestly, I think we're going to sleep better by the airport. I really do. Yeah, because it's just, we can go to sleep here fine, but it's the mornings because people show up on the volleyball nets first thing in the morning, and then there's always something going on in the Airbnbs that surround us. I understand the hypocrisy of what I'm about to say as a digital nomad, But I am now fully against Airbnbs in residential areas. Like, it's awful to be surrounded by them. So we have a lovely couple above us now who like to play elevator music starting at sunrise, and I can hear it. So that's what's been waking me up every day.
There's your unsolved mystery. Anybody that listens to elevator music at sunrise is a fucking serial killer in my book. Like, you should call the cops on them right now.
No, they're just elderly. Like, they're it's like a cute little elderly couple, and it's loud because they can't hear, is what I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But they're like kind and lovely. But it's like I have to continually have conversations with new sets of neighbors every week to be like, this is how you're rude. Can you stop this? And it's above me. It's beside me.
Aren't you there because of an Airbnb?
Yes, hence the hypocrisy. But I did rent this place for 5 months. So it's a little different. Like, I know all the neighbors. They all like us. Like, it's been kind of nice, actually, that the neighbors have been coming up. They're like, we're really going to miss you guys. And I'm like, I like you guys too. Yeah, and the reason they're going to miss us because when you're here for like 30 days or more, you do care about the building. You do meet all the neighbors. Like, it's not like you can be wicked rude and have no repercussions. You don't want everyone around you to hate you. So at this point, I'm friends with everybody that lives in this building, and we've become neighbors and friends. And so now they're going to go back into like, the cycle of having new people here all the time. And I get it. Like, I've never been surrounded by Airbnbs like this. And if I had to do it full time, I would lose my mind.
You know what? So, I've got the same setup over here, except it's all enemies. I know everyone in the building. We're enemies. But it's because I'm over here long enough that I've got to know them and they've got to know me. And I think that they're going to miss me when I'm gone.
I'd like it if your existence in Edinburgh was just this spy versus spy. Like, you're constantly trying to shoot your neighbors through clandestine means, and they're always avoiding it. I've
got to get Gordon. Today's the day to get Gordon.
Yeah. Somebody comes up, they think that you're waiting for an Uber, so they try to hit you with a shiv only to find that it's a coat on a coat rack, and you're like waving on a horse.
Nice try, Scotsman.
From Austin, Texas, I'm Justin Robert Young from a beach in Southern California.
I'm Jennifer Briney.
And from Edinburgh, Scotland,
I'm Andrew Heaton.
And we're not wrong. On this edition of the program, we'll be talking about massive hiring revisions from the Bureau of Labor Statistics and whether or not we trust them. And Republicans have gone nuclear in the Senate, changing Senate rules. Will they live to regret it? All that in your emails. Heaton, how much longer are you in Scotland?
Tonight is my last night in Scotland. I'm getting a train down to London tomorrow. And then I'm there in London Friday just to see some friends, do an interview, and then I fly back to the States on Saturday.
Wow. So you're back stateside soon, huh?
Yeah. Next time you see me, God willing, I will be back in the Washington, D.C. metro area. The Washington Necroplex, as it's called.
I was thinking about going to D.C. last night because there was a Substack party, but I had business in San Francisco. Although I did see two famous people in the San Francisco airport. I had two celebrity sightings.
Who?
That was very... Chamath from the All In podcast, whom I don't watch, but I've seen enough clips of that I'm like, that guy looks familiar. And I had to look it up on my phone. And then I was like, oh, okay, he was that guy. He was in the Amex lounge. And then on my flight to Austin, former WWE women's champion Bayley was literally in the row behind me. And I was going to say hi, but she had her headphones on, and I respected her ability to not be bothered by random people on the plane. But
so to summarize, you saw two people I've never heard of and you call them celebrities.
I mean, there are enough people that will listen to it. Just because you'd like to flaunt your cultural ignorance like a Visigoth doesn't make you special or interesting. It makes you somebody that wasn't aware. For somebody who rattles off names of random fucking AVP members like I'm supposed to give a shit. Like, I don't say like, what the fuck? I don't even know who these volleyball players are. I just let you do that thing in case somebody else gives a shit.
I hope the audience enjoys your reaction to needling.
Oh my God.
Lose your shit. It's so fun.
This is really the only relationship I have in my life where I have an older sister. Like it is something that the likes of which every other like friend of mine, female friend of mine, I tend to be older than, and or that I have that kind of like back and forth relationship with. You're the only one who is just like, oh no, this is what would happen. Like, you know, if we were growing up together, like this is a very unique relationship for me.
I'm actually honored to be your sister. I like that a lot.
No, it is, especially considering how in the moment angry we can make each other. Like it is something that I don't have a lot of people that I can just like, oh, I just know I can get Jen really fucking angry really fucking quickly. And I know that she can get me angry really quickly.
Yeah, it doesn't take much.
No, it does not. Apparently they ran out of electricity in Scotland. I did not know that was a thing. No, here we go. Joining us back is Andrew Heaton from the Isle of Scots.
There he is.
Sorry, there'll be the English weather coming in, ruining the Wi-Fi.
Yeah. We good?
We should be, and I just activated my, remember I got that hotspot just for this eventuality. So if we have any further trouble, I've booted it up, and it looks like the internet's now working, but if not, I've got this as a backup. So we should be good.
Cool.
All right. The United States economy added 911,000 fewer jobs over the past year than initially reported by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This significant revision, based on the quarterly census of employment and wages, could impact interest rate decisions by the Federal Reserve. The revision highlights a potentially weaker labor market than previously thought. The period revised ran from March 2024 to March 2025, mostly spanning the final months of the Biden administration and 2 months of the Trump administration. This comes after Trump fired the Bureau of Labor Statistics head weeks ago when he was upset with employment numbers and massive revisions. So now we have bad employment numbers and we have a massive revision at the top end of expectations. People did expect it to be revised down, but a million was pretty much the top of the pops there, and it pretty much hit that. So let me ask you, Heaton, we talked about the firing when it happened. Gut feeling, do you trust these numbers?
Yeah, I do. I so far in my career, I have not been given cause to mistrust the Bureau of Labor Statistics nor the Congressional Research Service. These tend to be two groups that I look at. I've done research for extremely libertarian economists that don't like the government at all, and they rely on data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and I've never heard them bring up that they thought that it was particularly fishy. They had problems with some of the statistical inferences made from that and some of the analysis subsequent to it. But the actual data, I don't see a problem with. It's possible. It's possible that there's problems there. I'm always open to the possibility that federal bureaucrats are falling down on the job in some capacity. But overall, though, I think that they have a pretty good track record of being nonpartisan. I do know that when Trump fired the head of BLS, suddenly everyone in America became an expert on the BLS. I should note, I am not an expert on the BLS, so I can't go on Reddit and tell you why it was wrong all sorts of ways. But my gut is that they're probably correct in general, assuming that whatever tomfoolery the president is doing is not now affecting that. I don't think that that's what's going on either, by the way, because I think that the president would always like it to be good job numbers coming out, even though the job numbers that we're looking at are really more a reflection of the Biden economy than the Trump economy. But I don't think that they've been jacked in order to make Biden look worse or Trump look worse either way. I think that they're probably accurate insofar as we can know them. In terms of the inferences we make from it, this is something that I've never quite figured out. I think the way it works is when the stock market goes up and down, that has a lot to do in terms of time with what the president's up to. So if the president says we're going to do tariffs and the stock market drops, or we're going to peel back regulations and the stock market shoots up, that's pretty well directed to the president, because the president is getting people to anticipate what the profit earnings will be moving forward. With job reports, I think that they are sticky, and based on what I've read, they usually are from decisions made in the previous 9 to 18 months. So with the job numbers that we're seeing, most of that is stuff that, even though it might have taken place after Biden was out of office, it's decisions that took place under Congress and Biden during the last few years. The jobs aren't good, as you note, Justin. I think if they were good, we would be hearing that this is great and a sign that the president is fantastic. Since that hasn't happened, they're going to throw Biden under the bus and blame him. That's probably more or less accurate, but there's still some, I don't know, there's I think manufacturing and mining were shrinking. So that might be a precursor to stuff going on with the tariffs. And we don't really know yet what all Trump's done in terms of jobs. There's not been enough time for that to hit the economy. I think
this would have been before the tariffs were announced, if it goes to March, because Liberation Day was April 2nd.
Good point. Then it would have nothing to do with that, would it? But in answer to your overall question,
I mean, not to say that we didn't know that was coming. I mean, he talked about it ad nauseum throughout this entire period, but he had not announced that crazy board with all the nutty numbers. Did not happen.
Yeah,
at that.
But no, overall though, if somebody who is previously familiar with the BLS prior to Trump firing the head of BLS, if somebody prior to that had reason to think that the BLS was doing a bad job and that their data was bad and that they were willfully trying to influence the decisions of the president or the popularity, I'm open to hearing that. I'm not really keen to hear people that never thought about BLS till Trump fired the guy, and I'm inclined to accept the numbers as correct.
I think fired the girl. You're sexist.
Well, I, for one, am
Jen,
happy about that we had a girlfriend there for a little bit. About time.
Do you trust these numbers?
So my answer is dumber than Andrew's, which I don't think is the first on this show.
Should have had you go first. That's on
me. So I trust them because they were bad for Trump. And I understand that that's stupid. But if we had the Biden numbers get revised down by 1 million, and then we were told that Trump has added 1 million, I would be like, these are straight bullshit. But because they were bad for Trump too, I'm more inclined to believe them. But when I zoom out on my own reaction to this, I don't think that's good. I don't think it's good that I'm at the point now where I'm already judging the validity of numbers based on the results. My trust has been eroded enough to bring me there, and I'm not comfortable
Would you
with
have
it.
done that if I had not posed the question for content that we create for public consumption and money?
What do you mean?
Would you have thought about this? If I hadn't deliberately asked you, do you trust this? Would that thought have even crossed your mind?
Oh yeah, it did. I saw this before you made it the topic. Okay. I saw that the numbers had been revised down for Biden, and my first thought was that motherfucker. But then I looked at the ones for Trump and I was like, oh, they're not good for him either. So this isn't what my gut reaction was. So I at least took that extra step of being okay, let's check the bias and see what's actually going on. But that was my gut reaction, was wow, 1 million down. That sounds excessive. These are my initial true thoughts, and I'm not necessarily proud of them, but they're real.
Anecdotally, it makes sense to me, mostly because I knew a lot more people who got fired last year than I knew who got hired.
Oh, me too.
Granted, it was in the tech sector. We've been in tech winter for closing in on 2 years now, where it's been harder for people to get jobs, probably even a little bit more than 2 years. So it's I know a lot of people in that field. It's been really tough sledding to get a gig. And, now things are looking a little bit sunnier, but I don't know a ton of people in my own life that are saying super pumped to be working at wherever they're going to go. So it makes sense to me that it's less rosy than people thought.
Well, in my life,
the election year,
mine is matching yours in that I saw a lot of people get fired last year, and here we are this summer. Those same people are still struggling to get jobs,
looking for work. Yeah,
and these are people in tech and healthcare. And then you just look at like all these stories about how tourism is struggling, which doesn't surprise me at all. So just watching my friends struggle, and I'm happy to say that most of them are not blaming themselves for their inability to find jobs. Like they are aware that there's something bigger than them going on. So I'm glad it's not like turning into depression, but it's definitely turning into real financial anxiety, and people that I know taking jobs that are just way beneath their skill levels because at this point they need something. And but it's been going on for a long time. Like their unemployment length is a lot longer than we were expecting it to be.
And see,
it's not
historically, this is
isolated thing.
This is what the administration plays with. So historically what you do is whoever's in power talks about how low the unemployment rate is, and whoever's out of power goes, no. The relevant metric is the labor,
real unemployment,
the labor participation rate, because unemployment only counts people that are filing for unemployment and are looking for work, whereas the labor participation rate reflects all of the people of working age who are not working, that have either dropped out or on disability or something like that. And then the second that they get back into power, it completely reverses and everybody has amnesia and forgets all of this. So that's historically what we do. That's part of why I trust the BLS statistics, because no one tends to actually question the data. They just try to play with it to make them look better.
Yeah, Trump's economic team was out on the Sunday shows this week trying to spin the academic version of, you know, if Trump puts out on Truth Social like bullshit, like with 9 exclamation points, Kevin Hassett comes out on Face the Nation the next day and says like, well, you know, in a talk that I gave to the Wharton Business School 5 years ago, like I made very pointed critiques about the BLS's, statistical gathering or whatever. So I have no idea what that is. This seems at least ground truth connected to me. Like this, it felt like a lot of people I knew lost their jobs. It felt like there wasn't exactly a gigantic booming industry last summer. It feels like there's like the beginning of it in the tech field with some of these AI companies starting to kind of like ramp up, and you're seeing some of it. But like other than that, it's not, you know, the hiring spree that happened in the 2010s or anything. Not right now. Maybe it will be by the end of the year or next summer if rates go down and the VCs start slinging cash all around San Francisco and the Valley again. But other than that, I don't know. I mean, this does seem connected in like, I don't know. This is the first time I've seen numbers like that where I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Because it did not make sense to me when we were talking about how rosy the economy was.
Well, that's one of the other things you do.
That did not make sense.
If you're president, you don't talk about the kinds of jobs that they always say, I've created jobs. You didn't create jobs. The best thing you did was allow for an environment that was advantageous for the economy to grow and
for jobs,
and other people created jobs. But what they'll tend to say is, I created X amount of jobs, and they won't pay a lot of attention to what kind of jobs they are. So if there was a huge spike in minimum wage jobs, that's different than a huge spike in $80,000 jobs. And they don't talk about that too much. Again, there's a lot of like statistical mirage stuff you can do to kind of juice it and make yourself look better.
Well, and it's coming every year around the holidays because there's a bunch of part-time jobs that get created, and then they're like, yay, look at how good the economy's doing. And then in January, and then all those jobs went away.
And then they all go away.
Oh, we're just going to ignore that.
Yeah, there was a lot of grumbling through last year about like these jobs reports that were coming out that were good for the Biden administration, and then people in the numbers. And obviously it was a very fraught information war situation during a presidential election, especially one that had so many different ley lines like last year's did. That, you know, but the argument on the conservative side was like, hey, if you take away government created jobs, then things are not looking particularly good. Like that this was something that was essentially being juiced by the government in general.
Well, I remember during the election, we talked about it on this show a few times where the Democrats were running on like, the economy's great, stupids. Like, you know,
why
be
aren't
proud
you
of this.
Dumbs realizing it?
Yeah, like, why are you guys
morons?
mad at us? Like, the stats say we're great. And it was like, well, I don't feel that. And my friends that are unemployed don't feel that. And the Democrats weren't speaking to that. And now we found out that their numbers were wrong. And it's like, okay, that explains a lot.
Yeah. That's a thing with Democrats is, boy, do they love pointing at numbers and saying,
yeah,
but number.
I at least know it doesn't work because I like the number stuff works on me where I'm like, oh, we're doing better than I thought. Good to know. You know, it's not anecdotal. You got to look at the overall picture, and averages and medians are different than anecdote. That speaks to me. I am aware that when I say that, it is not helpful. I do not make a convincing case to people when I pull out my spreadsheets.
Yeah. I think when people are going to the grocery store and are still shocked by the numbers that they're paying, I don't really give a shit what the government numbers are. Like, those are painful. So I think that's what more people are going to react to.
And that's the problem is that number doesn't get less painful until you have a job that pays you more, because those numbers are not going back down. That's the problem with inflation, is that like once it costs that amount of money, it very, very, very rarely costs less than that amount of money. You know, like sometimes with certain kind of goods, produce and stuff like that, maybe if there's some different way that you're importing it or creating it locally or something. But in general, it's like that bag of coffee is probably going to cost what it does forever. The hope is that you get a job that pays you more.
And like I said, like I've had a few of my friends that are unemployed get jobs, but they're just basically taking whatever they can get right now. A lot of those are paying less than what they were used to. And so those grocery bills, like, okay, on the BLS statistic, like they are a job created or whatever, but they're struggling more than they were 2 years ago. So it's not going to translate into, oh, I want to vote for the people that are making the situation happen, because it's just not working for regular people.
So, okay.
I remember the first, I remember the first time that there was big layoffs at my wife's company, and we had a bunch of friends that were like, oh my God, I can't wait to get this, severance package. Like this place sucks and I want to leave. And I was like, I wonder how long that attitude's going to be around. Cause I don't know if we're going into tech hibernation, like it's not going to be just as easy to walk across the street and get a gig that's going to pay you more.
I kind of wonder, okay, I'm floating this. I don't know if I even believe it. I wonder if to some extent people love their jobs insofar as they don't think they can get a better job. Like if we kind of retcon ourselves where you're like, oh no, I like my job. I'm glad I'm here. Because there's like a subconscious thing of like, I'm not sure I can get a better job, so I might as well like this one. But when people are like, I don't like my job, there's kind of a thing going on of like, because I can go get a better job, fuck this.
I think there's a lot of people, I'm speaking from a little bit of experience here. I think there's people that stay in jobs not because they don't think they can't find another one, but because finding another one is just a pain in the ass. And the onboarding process and just changing, like there's a lot of comfort in like, I have this, it works.
Yeah. Plus, like
I'm just staying here.
I was thinking about this earlier today. Well, I don't think I've ever got a job from an application. Maybe once I got a job, like where I just filled out an application and someone read it and called me. When I came back from Scotland the first time and went back to Washington, D.C., I was unemployed and daily job hunting for 6 months, like every day for 6 months. I don't think I've ever had an application actually do anything. It is really disheartening. It is not fun. It's your daily job and you're not getting paid.
It's even worse because a lot of the listings that are out there on the LinkedIns and such like are just perfunctory because they want to move somebody internally, but they have to technically, quote unquote, list it externally. So it's like a lot of that is just even fake to begin with. It is a Potemkin job listing.
I had one of those one time when I was working as an intern for Congress, and I wanted to be a staffer so bad. And my boss like called one of his friends and went, hey, he's a good sort. And it was very clear. Like I came in, introduced myself and like was like, hey, I'm Andy. I'm by Andy that time. And I'm like, who are you? And she's like, I'm currently the intern in here. I'm applying for the same job. And I was like, that's interesting.
I wonder who's going to get it.
You've already got this report. And then the entire interview was that member of Congress just explaining how shitty the job was and trying to get me to blink.
Yeah.
Going like, you probably have to come in here on weekends. And I'm like, that's great. I'm eager to work. I really want this job. And him going, I mean, we're looking at like 50, 60 hours. And I'm like, yep, a happy little cog, sir. And like, he was just doing a favor for my guy and had no intention of ever letting me go in.
So I'm actually
and that man was
really
Gary Condit.
Proud of how we know what your weekend work was. So when Joe got the job he has now, like the company's been sold a bunch of times. It's a very different job now, but I'm really proud of the way that he did it. And there might be a lesson in there for someone who's going through something similar, because at the time Joe had gotten laid off from his job in Boston. So we moved to Oregon because we could live there for free while he looked for his next one. It wasn't going well because, just like you said, Andrew, you send in a piece of paper, but like those aren't getting responded to. So what we did is we took our tip money, because I was waiting tables at the time, and we sent him on the train down to San Francisco to where there was a solar conference. We bought the ticket for the conference. He slept on a friend's couch, but he went to the places, like they had booths there where he had been applying, and introduced himself. Mm-hmm. He ended up getting invited to a bar to watch World Cup soccer with a couple of engineers. By the time he was done with that soccer game, he pretty much had a job because they liked him. Yeah. So I think face-to-face time, even if we spent a lot of money we didn't have to send him down there because both the conference ticket and the train ticket wasn't entirely cheap. But we made a bet that the face-to-face would be helpful. And that was 100% true. And so here we are. What is this? 11 years later, and he's still there.
Plus, it's always very important to be there wherever you want to be there first.
Yeah,
like it is very, very rare that somebody will want a stranger enough to do something that is extraordinary for them. If you are there and you're a nice friendly face who's ready and willing to plug in, then you're gonna have a lot.
Yeah. So
well, in this way, someone that's hiring knows that you're not a nightmare. I think that's a big part of the hiring process is just like, do we like this person? And you can't tell if you like them.
When I worked in cable television news, somebody told me that to not get fired, you have to be there are three things: be punctual, be competent, and be likable. But you only have to be two of those three things. So I decided I'll be likable. And I guess I'll be competent and just went with that.
Yeah. I wouldn't call you punctual.
Yeah. And it was, you know what? I added a lot of morale to the office to the point where I think everybody kind of would have felt bad firing me. It got me a lot of slack.
Yeah. I guess I should not ever give anybody advice on getting hired. Like I've gotten hired vanishingly few times in my life. So there's not a lot. I've fallen ass backwards into a lot of stuff, but that is more because I think I've been good at keeping professional contacts, and that I can produce stuff by myself. So at the very least, if somebody is looking for something, they can look at me and say, well, he produces this. Do we want this for us? If so, it's an easier conversation than if I were to just be like, I can start doing something tomorrow, boss. Just pay me money.
I mean, I obviously haven't applied for a job in a really long time, but I have gotten every job I've applied for except for 2. And I think the difference is I always go in and I hand the applications in person. I've never just mailed
That's
one.
Smart. That's really smart.
Yeah, I think it makes a huge difference.
I read an article that one of the things that's happening with job seeking right now, and it's probably not every industry, but AI has hit the application process, not just internally where they're using AI to vet resumes, but the resume submitters are using AI. So when I was in my 6-month unemployed doldrum here a decade ago, I had to, every application was different. They were all just a little bit different. I had to adjust the cover letter. I had my basic template, but I'd have to go in and go, okay, well, that bit about the prison rodeo is really not relevant. I'm going to strike that bit and mention the Boy Scout, or whatever the thing was, right? But I'd probably put out like 2 or 3 quality applications a day. And now though, I'm told that there's kind of an arms race between the people that are applying for jobs and the people that are vetting them, because you can now use AI to crank out so many that you're getting inundated on the hiring side, and then you're using AI to try to filter through that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's real.
Yeah. Well, salute to everybody out there that is looking for a gig, and know that you are not alone if you lost your job in 2024 to 2025 between the months of March. I know nobody who's in that position wants to hear this, but just between the three of us, holy shit. Like, who would have known that just having no guarantee of return income and talking into a microphone and asking for money on the internet turned out to be the safest job in the world?
Yeah. Yeah.
You joke.
I've had that conversation.
No, I am not joking. I am not joking at all. It is great to live without that anxiety that one person's capricious decision making can fire people.
Yeah. Because I have been fired. And it really only takes one person to fire you. Like, and where I got fired, there were probably 3 people that could have fired me, but it didn't require all 3 of them. It required one of them to go, I don't like this, got fired. And now it's like, I could piss off the audience with my rampant Gary Condit jokes and lose like half my income, but you can't make it all go away. You can't make it all go away. I'm still employed. You just hurt my income, but I can't actually go back to that basement where I was filling out the applications.
Yeah. There is some censorship. Like, there's some politicians for whom I won't joke about as much because people might listen. But other than that, that's fine.
Yeah. I feel like our audience has put up with a lot of us. So
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like we get hired and fired every day, but it's just different when
true.
It's crowdfunded.
Yeah.
You know, so I looked at my exit surveys. I got fired yesterday because I didn't respond to one patron's comment. It's like, okay, goodbye, Felicia. But then I got hired by 2 more. So it's like no one person has the power to shut me down. And I think that's where the power of this comes in, even though the hiring, the firing, like I don't take it as personally as I used to, but it's an emotional roller coaster every single day if you let it. So it's just different. But I do feel like financially now that I have an audience that has supported me based on, I mean, I've said some things that were very scary to say online, and the audience hasn't gone away. So every time like that happens,
That was a weird week. That was a weird week.
I didn't.
Yeah,
it was funny. They were funny
Chris
jokes.
Rock's,
I got to say, objectively, it was funny, but it was offensive, Jen.
She just, instead of Congress one week, she just did Chris Rock's N-words versus black people set and then like broke it down. And yeah, but other than that, that was a weird turn for you.
The makeup did make her look like Chris Rock. That was impressive.
That you guys are lying. This audience is aware that you two are completely full of shit. I've built up a relationship enough with these people to where they're not going to just go to Congressional Dish and be like, she says the N-word. I heard it from these trusted sources.
Put that as your Latin crest. In Latin, she said, Congressional Dish. She says the N-word. She doesn't really. So anybody, that's a joke. That's a joke. But I'm sure if you pay her enough, she might. Patreon.com/We're Not Wrong is where you can go to influence this show with your money. If you head to patreon.com/We're Not Wrong, you will get a bonus episode of the program each and every week. Friends, it is without fail. And this week, we got a little bit of a lighter one. We're doing 2 politics topics here in the main show. So we're going to lighten it up and talk about a new Girl Scout cookie that is coming out, which if you have not subscribed to the Patreon, you don't know, whenever there's a super light, ridiculous topic.
Jen says the N-word.
It
just devolves into that. Jen's like, you know who's really funny? Andrew Dice Clay. Here, I've got some notes.
All right, we have to stop. There was a joke early in my internet career. Brian and I were just starting with the what is now the Great Night Show, and there was a friend of ours, Ryan Connolly, who at that time was just beginning his channel. It's very, very popular on YouTube, Film Riot, but they had just started it, and he was also living in South Florida. So he had come on the show a few times, and for whatever reason, just because, for the same reasons that I've just insinuated, that Jen has said the N-word on Congressional Dish. I just wanted to casually throw on my friend's lap that they were racist. And so the joke was Ryan Connolly's a racist. That was not true. It was just a thing that had become a running joke on the podcast. And so it was all fun and games until I run into Ryan Connolly and then his girlfriend, now his wife, at a sandwich shop in South Florida. We randomly happened to be there at the same time. And he goes, hi, and introduces me to his girlfriend and says, this is Justin, the one who keeps calling me racist online. And I'm like, oh, some of these jokes actually have meaning to some people.
I've learned this. You got to be careful because the audience, I will make a joke that I think is like clearly this is the boundary that we should be doing. And the audience goes, hey, new fun game. And they don't necessarily have that. And so they'll run with it like I had like just as a random comment like 3 or 4 years ago, I was talking about political correctness or something. And I was like you're not supposed to say Chinaman anymore. My editor, Eric, hates it when I call him that, which the joke being Eric is not, he's not Asian. And I was just kind of, and then like, so people started making memes of him and I was like, this is getting, I'm going to yank this.
No. Yeah. Anyway. When we have light topics on the Patreon, it means that we get into a freewheeling direction that is often some of the funniest stuff that we have ever done in the history of this show. So just because if you're like a topic, you're like, I don't know, I don't care about cookies. Trust me, you're going to like where it goes because it always gets a little weird.
When it's about food, it's how many different ways can we call each other fat? Call ourselves fat.
Patreon.com/where not wrong is where you need to go. Senate Republicans, frustrated by the backlog of 150 Trump nominees, plan to go nuclear this week to speed confirmations. Majority Leader John Thune filed a resolution to confirm 48 bipartisan nominees at once, but is expected to fall short of the 60-vote threshold. Republicans will then take that as an opportunity to lower the threshold to a simple majority, allowing batch confirmations for most executive branch positions. The first group includes Kimberly Guilfoyle and Callista Gingrich as ambassadors. Democrats, who are currently preoccupied with getting ready to shut down the government, have offered muted objections as of now, although you've seen some live fire over the last 48 hours. Chuck Schumer warned Republicans that they will regret the change when the power shifts, but GOP leaders seem ready to accept the risks. Senate Democrats have slowed the confirmation of President Trump's second-term nominees by employing procedural hurdles and extended debates. Senators Schumer, Durbin, and Schatz have placed holds on Justice Department, state, and U.S. attorney nominees, delaying even non-controversial lower-level positions. Senator Chris Murphy called the situation a constitutional crisis, vowing to block nominees outright if he has to. Jen, anytime there are rule changes in the Senate, there are consequences. Just ask the ghost of Harry Reid the next time you fly into his airport in Las Vegas. Are these changes warranted, and will the Republicans live to regret them?
So unfortunately, I think I have to side with the Republicans on this one and say these changes are warranted because for those that don't know, I'm doing a series called Last Week in Congress. I started it this year on the Congressional Dish Patreon. And in that, I've been looking at the congressional record every week and letting you know in detail what's been happening in Congress. And what's been happening in the Senate is nothing but confirmations. And they are going so slow. And what I've learned by looking at each and every confirmation that has happened this year is that there are some truly crazy people that have been confirmed to the Trump administration that deserve the opposition. There are also some perfectly fine people that have even worked in Congress that everybody knows and likes, that have gotten treated as if there is something to be against. Like, I've dug into their resumes and their work histories, and there's nothing wrong with these people, and yet they've been held up. And just for them, I think it's really unfair to have it look like they were, unacceptable candidates when they got confirmed to be in an administration just because of political partisanship. And so I've witnessed it myself to where there are non-controversial nominees that are getting held up. That is not a lie. And we've gotten to the point now that the Senate is really doing very little other than these confirmations. And that's just not the way it's supposed to be. And to give people some context, in the congressional record, every 3 months, they have something called the resume of congressional activity, and it just came out. So this is valid through October 31st. Congress hasn't been working very much, and so this is pretty much true. They may have confirmed 1 or 2 more people this week, but this is pretty accurate. So if you look at the category of civilian nominees, there are 307 civilian nominees that are still needing to be confirmed. If they kept the process the same way, it takes about 3 hours of like Senate working time to confirm a nominee, which would be 901 hours. If you assume the Senate are working 12-hour days, that would be 76 days that the Senate would have to spend on confirming the rest of these nominees. And that's just a ridiculous way for us to be spending our time in our branch of government. Because 76 days, I mean, Congress does not work all of the days. We know this, and the holidays are coming up. So like that's going to be well into the next year, which means that for more than half of the Congress, our Senate will have been jammed with confirmations. And I know, like, I think we have figured out on this program that I'm not a fan of the Trump administration. That said, that is the administration that was elected to run this country, and they should be allowed to be fully staffed in less than a year and a half. So I think the Republicans are right on this one, unfortunately, and the Democrats have acted in bad faith and kind of deserve this. And so will the Republicans regret it? I don't give a shit, because when we have a Democratic administration, they should also get to staff their administration.
Put in their own people. Yeah, because the one thing that I've heard about this that is ridiculous is that normally what happens is, even if you have an oppositional situation, the two sides sit down, they say, look, here are the names we're going to fight over. Here are the names that we don't care to fight over. In exchange for us just voice voting all these people that are like going into positions that are important to run the government, we would just like 1 or 2 appointments or something like that. They'll horse trade a little bit and just get the process
or
on the
they'll
road
just
and
they'll
draw
say shit.
lines of demarcation.
Like what I did not personally witness this, but when I was on the Hill, some of the staffers that I worked with told me stories where somebody would be on, they'd be going through the process, and Senator Muckety Muck would like rip them and then walk, like cameras off, go, hey, I'm really sorry, I've been down at the polls. It's not personal. There's a certain amount of sound bites that come out of it that go with the votes anyway.
Yeah. But there's also incentives, right? So it's like, why would you ever be incentivized to put someone forth who is not a crazy person if they're all going to get opposed anyway? You might as well have the most batshit Trump loyalist people if this is how it's going to be. So the Democrats are also not doing themselves any favors by being like, oh no, we can't be negotiated with. Like, why bother? You know?
Well, and if you're Trump skeptic, and I too am Trump skeptic, I would prefer that we greenlight all of the sane people that he is putting forth and have them be in the room. That would be a positive for me.
I agree.
But this is a procedural hurdle, right? The reason why they're doing this is because it's eating up minutes in the Senate. And that's a way that Chuck Schumer, in his very parliamentary brain, whether or not his base wants to hear it, I don't think that they do, nor do they particularly understand it. He can come back and say, we've ground them to a halt. There's nothing else happening. Look at the congressional record.
There's plenty of stuff that they could be doing that was of substance. Because like every minute that they're wasting on these confirmations is minutes that they're not on the Senate floor talking about the defense authorization, which is where you would authorize or deauthorize the National Guard going into American cities. Like there's debates that could be had in what was once the most, what did they call it? The greatest deliberative body, which doesn't deliberate shit anymore.
Chamber of the United States Senate.
Yeah. I mean, they're all getting free camera time and they're wasting it on these confirmations. So it's like by grinding the Senate to a halt, I don't think that is a victory and something to be proud of. It's just the way for the Democrats to say they're doing something, but the something has to be effective. And I don't think that this is effective. There's other things that need to be debated. Even these little bills that keep sneaking through, like in my last episode on Congressional Dish, I went through what Congress has done so far, and most of or at least half of the laws that have been signed have been regulation killers. Most of them regulations that were protecting us environmentally. Spend the hours on the floor talking about the specifics of these regulations and why this is a bad idea, so that at the very least, when they are signed, there is something on record saying that someone broke it down, someone understood it, someone because the consequences will be felt. And so if you can go and say listen, we warned you about this. We, talked about it on the floor for all 60 hours of the debate or whatever. That's one way to do this. But instead, they're only dealing with these confirmations. We're not getting these debates on these things that are actually becoming law at the end of the process. So if this is the do something, I don't approve of this something. This isn't true resistance.
Heaton, do you think that the Republicans will live to regret it?
They will live to regret a lot that they're doing right now, but this isn't going to be one of the things that they live to regret, I don't think. I agree with Jen's analysis. I would add to that I would probably get rid of the filibuster in the Senate. The idea behind a lot of these impasses that are there were good ideas. The impetus behind them that was originally there was we want the Senate to not be a narrow majority. We want it to be a consensus body. We want to compel it to arrive at a consensus position or a large majority rather than a razor thin majority. And this will keep us from passing bills too quickly. It will keep us from making big changes that the whole country does not sign off on. And it will make sure that everybody has buy-in. It's a good impulse behind it, and it's part of the whole checks and balance system that we're heir to, which is a good thing to have. The thing that concerns me is if you make the checks and balances and vetoes too intense, you don't end up getting a functional government. And when you don't get a functional government, you don't just get small government that I might advocate for. You just get non-functional government. And what happens is people increasingly look at Congress and go, well, that's sclerotic and useless and it does nothing. Let's just let the president do it. Let's just give more power to the president. That's the result of all of this. I think, for the record, President Trump would probably expand executive power regardless of what was going on in Congress, but every president is pushed that direction by going, well, I guess I'm going to do something here. And I think that it makes the overall population inured to it because they look at Congress and go, well, they're not even trying. So why should we care? These checks and balances are useless. So I'd probably get rid of the filibuster for that reason. I think that it's become so gridlocked the last few years that I want to remove some of the veto power that's in the Senate. In terms of the procedural mechanism that is now going nuclear, this is a pretty small nuclear bomb.
Wait, can we stay with the filibuster for a second? Because I disagree.
Do you? Go ahead.
Just about everything you said.
Sure. All right.
Yeah. Because I think we look at Congress and we brand it as do nothing, but just look at what's happened this year. The Republicans have accomplished a lot. They've done some serious environmental damage just through those regulation killers that I was just talking about. The big, beautiful bill got around the filibuster and is a societally changing law. And in a lot of different ways, it's authorized indefinite detention. We already have hospitals that are closing because of the cuts to Medicaid. We have a lot of effects that are already happening. And that only became law about 2 months ago. So it's
and those Medicaid cuts haven't even hit yet, right?
Yeah,
that's not until next year.
Yeah, that hasn't even started yet. And yet the hospitals are already closing. So it's we're feeling the effects directly from what the Republicans have already accomplished. So even with the filibuster, the Republicans have been able to move very fast and do a lot of damage. I am really grateful that there is at least some kind of backstop for some of their worst impulses.
And that's the idea behind it.
So exactly. So I do see that working because if right now they were able to do majority rule in both the House and the Senate, I'd be terrified of what they would be doing. And specifically what I'm thinking of is something like the SAVE Act. There's bills where they want to change how we do our elections in this country, because I think the Republicans at this point are openly trying to rig the House of Representative elections. So I like that there's a backstop, and I want there to be a backstop, even if it is kind of easy to get around.
I'm
saw with the big, beautiful
I'm
bill.
like 60-40 on this one. So it's not something that I'm emphatic about. You could very well push me back into the camp. All the points that you make are very good points, and they're part of that underlying mechanism of trying to drive consensus, which is normally a good thing. So I'll put a pin in that, Jen. You might well get me to jump by the end of the episode over to that. I've previously favored the filibuster for all the reasons that you mentioned. Going back to the procedural mechanism that we're talking about directly, it's if this is the nuclear option, this is a fairly small nuclear missile that's been lobbed in the history of procedural changes. So in
it's a tactical nuke.
Yeah, it's a tactical nuke. And the big one was in 2013 when the Democrats ended filibusters for executive nominees and lower court judges. That was the really big one that Harry Reid did, and famously McConnell said, "You're going to regret this." You're going to, and that happened. That weirdly enough, the Republicans, when they got back into power, used the exact same tools to further their ambitions. So that, I think, was the big one. Yeah. In 2017, the Republicans ended filibusters for Supreme Court nominees for the same thing. So we've already removed some of the filibusters that were the really big impediments for bringing people in. And then in 2019, Republicans shortened post-cloture debate time on a lot of executive nominees. So this doesn't strike me as a huge thing compared to the procedural mechanisms that have already occurred. I agree with what Jen was saying earlier of for people that are background nominees, like you should just do an up or down on whether they're competent or not. When I was on the Hill, Lindsey Graham, who does not operate this way now, caught flack because at the time, Kagan was nominated by President Obama. She was going through the nomination process. Lindsey Graham voted in favor of her. Most of the Republicans voted against her. And when he was put on...
I just think she's a nice lady.
Yeah.
I think she's just a great, nice lady. Well,
his point I thought was very valid.
You could also say that about Lindsey Graham.
What Graham said at the time that I thought was valid.
Oh, you're sassy, Jen. Wow. Wow, what a sassy lady you are. 2 snaps.
What Graham said at the time that I thought was correct was he went, look, Kagan is not who I would have nominated. She wouldn't have been my first pick. She wouldn't have been on the slate of people I would put in, but it's my job to assess whether or not she is competent to be in the role. She is competent to be in the role, so I'm voting in favor of her. And I think that that's what the Senate should do. I don't like it when it's just a party vote up or down. And then some of them are just stupid anyway. Like 2 of the positions that you mentioned, Justin, were Kimberly Guilfoyle and Callista Gingrich getting bullshit ambassadorships so they can have feudal titles and throw parties. I don't like the re-microwaved graft that we do for ambassadorships, but there's nothing new about it. And those 2 people are perfectly qualified to be ambassadors compared to the slate of ambassadors we've had over the last few years that are political appointees. There's nothing aberrant about them.
Plus, ship them overseas. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Get them out.
Can I give you something that actually might be affected by this in another race?
What?
So in New York City, there is right now more polls have come out. We are now into the final furlough of a race that might well put Zohran Mamdani, the young, charismatic Democratic Socialist, as mayor of New York City. There's a school of thought that Andrew Cuomo could be competitive, if not be above him in the polling, if Eric Adams and Curtis Sliwa were to leave. Eric Adams, the embattled current mayor, and Curtis Sliwa, the Republican nominee,
as a hobby runs for mayor every 4 years.
Runs for mayor.
Yeah.
I don't know why the Republicans in New York can't just find a crypto hedge fund guy that isn't Curtis Sliwa who lives in an apartment.
He's got a cool hat. You got to give him that.
That's up to them.
I like the beret.
Jeez, this guy. Anyway, there was a rumor that Eric Adams was going to not only drop out of that race, but take a job in the Trump administration. And the job he would take in the Trump administration for the famously transactional Eric Adams was ambassador to Saudi Arabia. If you are a dude who wants to make a lot of money, being the American ambassador to Saudi Arabia is a pretty good gig. But the thought was, well, he would never pass Senate confirmation because the Democrats would block him. Not if this is changed to simple majority and they are able to push him forward through this post rule change option, which is, I think, where the Trump administration was thinking. Now, we don't know whether or not that's going to happen. Eric Adams has since come out and said that Andrew Cuomo's a snake and he's not going anywhere. Curtis Sliwa would be a harder lift to get out of there, and he is polling ahead of Eric Adams at this point. So I don't know if that's going to happen, but that is partly what you would look at in a situation like this.
So here's what I do think the Republicans are going to regret in very short order. And this goes for whoever's in power. It amazes me that when people are in power, they make decisions on expanding their power as if they will always be the ones in power. And that's just not going to happen. So like some of the stuff that's going to, President Gavin Newsom is going to inherit a dramatically expanded presidency. He's going to have more power than Biden did by virtue of the executive branch increasing its power. That's going to go to a Democrat at some point. Republicans are not going to like that. Moving forward, presidents, I think, are going to be a lot more inclined to go, well, let's just do it. And if it's illegal, the Supreme Court will stop us. We don't need to do internal checks on whether it's illegal or constitutional or not. It's the job of the Supreme Court to check us. Just do it. That's going to happen. They're going to be Democratic presidents that will start doing that. Republicans are not going to like that. And then to go back a little bit to a prior conversation we had, President Trump bought stake in Intel. President Trump got a golden share in Nippon Steel.
Yeah,
I'm telling you,
he got the United States the golden. I mean, he did not personally invest.
Yes, but what's going to when Gavin
that's socialism.
When Gavin Newsom is president and he says, well, I think we should have the federal government should have a 20% share in ExxonMobil and a 20% share in United Healthcare. It's going to be a little bit harder to push back on that because the Republicans were peddling that during the presidency of Donald Trump. So that's the stuff that they're going to live to regret when the Democrats come back into power.
There is such a bizarre world of rabbit season, duck season that is happening. And here's my favorite example. The Trump administration floated after the Annunciation Catholic school shooting that the shooter was transgender. Floating the idea of gun control, gun restrictions for transgender Americans. This is gun control. This is restricting gun purchasing based on a class of people for which liberals have found their backbone on the Second Amendment and are like absolutely not. We need to protect the federal right to keep the guns in the hands of these American citizens. And number one, anybody who believes that the Trump administration is a straight line conservative administration, I don't know if you're watching the same stuff that I am watching, because a lot of stuff that they're doing, to the point that Andrew Heaton is making. I mean, hell, tariffs in general, tariffs my entire life were explained as this is a tax on corporations. We don't want to raise the income. We don't want to raise the governmental tax rate on businesses. That's hard. People freak out. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to tariff goods coming in, and we're going to incentivize union jobs in America by restricting cheap alternatives. This is literal words out of Bernie Sanders' mouth. This is a tax on business. And now, because Trump said rabbit season, the Democrats say duck season, tax on you. It's a tax on you. That's like Paul Ryan is the one who says that. We're in such topsy-turvy, Freaky Friday world when it comes to some of this stuff. For anyone who's paid attention for longer than 5 minutes, it's like you're having a fucking stroke.
Yeah. I'm losing my mind. These people are making me lose my mind, especially with the government shutdown coming this month. Like, I don't know if I'm going to maintain my sanity. Did you guys see Ezra Klein?
Called for the government shutdown. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Called for the government. And then I looked in the comments to see like what are people saying? And there's so many people like, oh, Ezra, thank you for your bravery. We need to shut it down. 3 clap emojis. And it's just like, oh my God, they're going to fucking do this. They're going to do this. Even though they argued correctly for years that government shutdowns don't give you leverage. And by the way, if you get a continuing resolution, you are extending the Biden era funding. It's the only leverage you have, you dumb fucks. Like, you should be pushing for a year-long CR. That's the best thing the Democrats can get out of this. Are they doing that? No. They're not. They're going back on everything they ever said. I'm gonna lose it.
That Arrested Development meme of like when Tobias and his wife are talking about an open marriage. And it's just like, no, that never works. It's always just a total disaster. But maybe for us right now, like, God, I'm sure we'll talk about it. This is going to be a topic later. So get ready. That's just your little appetizer of us talking about what the government shutdown is going to be as we barrel toward it. But I don't know, man. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene put Donald Trump's Epstein letter in front of her congressional office yesterday. And a bunch of people that I have on a group chat that have like chronic TDS are just like, yeah, finally, Marge, let's go. And I'm like, fuck, I'm done. Yeah, I'm done paying attention. Like nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives any, like fucking fuck history, fuck any consistency. Like we'll just all run around willy-nilly. It's fucking, whose line is it anyway? Like the points don't matter. There are no rules. Let's just scream whatever we want.
Can I give you guys a $10 word that sums up a lot of the idiocy that we're living in right now? Schismogenesis. Yeah. Schismogenesis is where you make your opinion in opposition to somebody else's opinion. So Jen hates Justin and Justin likes green hats. So Jen loves orange hats. But if Justin gets an orange hat, now Jen likes black hats. That's schismogenesis, and there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's breaking my brain because I like to look at policy and like think about policy. And now I don't know who's on what team. It's just like whatever Trump says, like we'll just change whatever we think. I don't know how to do my job right now. It just, nothing makes sense.
I don't know whether or not it's my favorite moment or whether I've lived my entire career so I could see just the dumbest shit ever in my life happen, which is crazy because it's like there's a lot of really consequential, meaty issues that deserve to be talked about. Like there's a more serious version of of the moment in history that we are in right now, where some of the most fascinating, interesting dialogue about what the role of government is, how government has served us over the past 15 years, whether or not, despite the fact that the only thing consistent in government is that people have said, the system is not working for me. I would like the system to work better for me. I feel that it is working for somebody else. It is not working for me. And so now you have a president for whom, like Obama before him, and like Trump the first time, has come in and said, okay, we are going to do something for you. And we have seen different versions of that. This is a very unique, some would say extreme version of it. But they are doing things, the likes of which people have not wanted to go touch those handles before. And we could have a very serious conversation about where we are, what we're doing, and where we're going, how well things worked before, how well we are expecting things to work afterward. But we're fucking not. It's all just blind loyalty on one side and absolute, people are schismoing Genesis all over each other on the other side because they cannot handle the idea that like, you're telling me one liberal who's been screaming about tariffs my entire life are like, fuck yeah, let's tariff the shit out of these countries and let's push for union jobs in America. Not one? No. Okay. Everyone's going to hate it now. Everyone's going to be upset with it. Okay, great. Awesome. One psycho who was crazy about the Epstein files, talking about pedophiles for the last 10 years. Now they're going to be like, oh, nothing to see here with this Epstein thing. No, they shouldn't release. Nobody? Okay, awesome. Except for Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's now welcome to the resistance. She's going to be French kissing Jen Psaki on MSNBC in 5 minutes, and everyone's going to be really excited.
Yeah, the discharge petition, which is what would force the vote on opening the Epstein files. They can't get enough. Every Democrat has now signed on to it. And we have 4 Republicans, Mace, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Boebert, and Massey. They cannot get 2 more Republicans who have squawked about this for years.
They're not going
to release the files. I know there's going to be 2 special elections. Like we'll get there.
And then
but just like the hypocrisy of these fucking Republicans, like it's amazing to me.
And then at some point it's like Nancy Mace is going to be like, hey, do you want to be endorsed by Trump running for the governor of South Carolina? Because you're running for governor of South Carolina. Do you want that or do you not want that? Because he can endorse your opponent tomorrow. So she's going to take her name off it, and then that's going to fuck that. But even if it gets discharged, it's going to get discharged into the Senate where nothing's going to fucking happen, right? So it's like the Epstein thing's another thing that just makes me want to put a fucking drill bit into my ear hole. Like I am just like, the stupid birthday book that is like a bunch of boomers writing like the dumbest boomer humor that you've ever seen in your entire life. And everyone's like, oh, what a damning thing that's come out, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, there's a picture. Can anyone explain to me what a fully depreciated woman is? Because everybody's out here talking like this is like this gigantic thing. Have you seen this?
No.
You seen this? You seen this? Now I'm going to talk about Epstein. Fucking kill me. So you have this book for Epstein's 50th birthday that was organized by Ghislaine Maxwell that has a bunch of his boyhood friends, his business associates. President Clinton wrote a thing. Trump wrote a thing that was reported on by the Wall Street Journal. Now we've finally seen the pages of it. One of them is
a lot of ick, by the way, in the Trump picture. It was pretty gross.
All right, we can get that in a second. Put a pin in that because I want to talk about whether or not what we think is authentic in there and what we think isn't. But one of the things that's there is a picture of Epstein and a check, a novelty check, which I assume is probably there for like golf tournaments or whatever. But it's like one of those gigantic checks. And it says like, oh, you sold blank woman, a fully, quote unquote, fully depreciated woman to Donald Trump for $20,000. But it's like all of them smiling with a gigantic novelty golf check, right?
What does that mean?
I don't fucking know. And nobody knows because it's a bunch of boomers at a golf club making 50-year-old boomer jokes that are inside baseball and nobody fucking knows. But you have all these people that are now on the left, professional Epstein grifters, because we went through 10 years on the right of the professional Epstein grifters. And now the left is like, ooh, our turn. And they're like, oh, can you believe a fully depreciated woman? Who would do such a thing? It's like, can you explain what it is? Because I don't know what a fully depreciated woman is. If anything, it sounds like an old woman, which is the opposite of the whole Epstein shit. Oh.
Okay.
All right. We can talk about the Trump birthday thing. There is a back and forth that is styled to look like a woman's hourglass that then has a drawing around it and then Trump's signature at the bottom. The writing, the drawing, and the signature. Andrew Heaton, you go first, then Jen. Which do you think Trump did himself? The writing, the drawing, and the signature. 3 phases to this.
I don't know what Donald Trump's signature looks like. It looks legit. I don't know. It looks like it was an auto pen.
Yeah.
The drawing, no, I don't think, because I think if Trump were drawing a naked torso, I think it would have gigantic tits. And I'm looking at it right now. And
not if it's a child.
I would describe them as diminutive. So unless he's truly making a point to that effect, it doesn't strike me as something Trump would do. The writing on it, I don't know. It's Trump in the 90s, right? It's not how he talks now.
2000s.
2000s?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just the fact that he's involved in the creation and submission of that at all just gives me the icks. It's just icky. The secrets and the enigmas.
There is zero fucking chance that he wrote that. There is zero. If there's one thing that we all have been forced against our will to endure is that man's writing style. And he has never, ever written anything like that in the public square. Now,
but he liked it enough to put his name on it and give it to his friend, which like ick.
Oh yeah.
Ick.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I think so. For my case, I don't think he wrote. I think there's zero chance that he fucking wrote that. I think there is more of a chance that he drew the picture, but I tend to agree with Heaton. Would have had bigger jugs if it was Trump drawing it. And I think for sure he signed it. There's zero doubt in my mind that he didn't sign it. And he's lying and saying that he didn't sign it because that's his playbook is deny, blah, 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 blah. Especially when he thinks that this is malicious and he's not going to get a fair airing even if he said one thing or another. Like, so he's going to deny. He's lying. He signed it.
But what's the good faith interpretation of that picture? Like where's
hold on. Okay.
So,
The good faith interpretation is schizoid who doesn't diddle children, as opposed to shitbag who diddles children. The bad faith interpretation is shitbag who diddles children. The good faith is shitbag who diddles of age porn stars. That's it.
Yeah. No, it's like guy who fucks 18-year-olds serially, which is what Epstein was known to be at the time. Mm-hmm. Guy who liked them young, as you would say, needling each other on the golf course. Not guy who likes to fuck women younger than 18. Now, whether or not that is distasteful to many, that is a legal distinction for which I think everybody in that book was making reference to. I don't read it. I read it as Epstein was a creep. I don't see anything in there that makes me believe that everybody knew that he was a serial pedophile. You can judge him for fucking 18-year-olds, but that's not illegal.
And probably Trump legal. Was fine with him fucking 18-year-olds, is my guess.
Yes. Yes.
My guess is they're all creeps, including Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump is a disgusting creep. Yeah. And I've known this for a while, but it seems to be news to some Republicans. So,
well, I mean, like the idea that he didn't know Jeffrey Epstein on his 50th birthday, or even like Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell's dad ran the New York Daily News. How do you think fucking Trump got famous? Trump got famous for being a tabloid staple in the New York Post and the New York Daily News.
And for being a creep, for fucking around on his wife. He's always been a creep.
Yes. Yes. We had different names for it back then. He was, a playboy. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that was what he was like. Oh, he was an eligible bachelor. And then he married a hot lady. And then he cheated on the hot lady. And then he married another hot lady that he cheated with. And then it happened repeatedly over and over and over again. And meanwhile, he had an opinion on everything. And then eventually he became president because none of the professional politicians could do anything that the American public thought was fucking worthy. So we looked at the goddamn guy who yells at Meatloaf on television for a living and said, him, let's give him all the power we can possibly have. It is not his fault. It is your fault. The entire political class, both parties. And now you are so feckless and useless. You are so brain dead and incompetent that you just start switching sides depending on where else the game show host is going.
I'm really happy to see your reaction here because it's telling me that I'm not the only one losing my mind.
I'm fucking going nuts, Jen.
Hey, so
I'm going nuts.
A little,
because then also people come to me and they're like, why aren't you mad about the thing that we're mad about right now? It's like, because it's fucking stupid. Because the birthday book is fucking stupid.
Hey, Jen and Justin, just a little friendly advice for somebody who's retaining his sanity a bit better. Douglas Adams has a book where one of the characters, like, crazy shit's happening, and the other guy advises him, like, don't fight the crazy, it'll make you crazy. Like, you just need to accept a little bit of insanity, otherwise you're going to go insane. If you try to stay sane, you're going to go nuts. Don't do that. Allow yourself to be a little bit insane. That's why I'm so placid right now.
It's like...
But a little bit of insanity I can handle. This is too much. It's just too much. And Justin and I are reacting in different ways. Justin's in the yelling phase. I'm in the I don't want to get out of bed and pay attention to my job phase. So we're doing it differently, but it's too much. Everything I look at is too insane right now. And it's too hypocritical. And like, it's too much. A little bit is fine. This is too much.
It's like, there's going to
be consequences. That's the problem.
I mean, look, there's a lot to talk about.
I can handle stupid shit. I can handle Donald Trump yelling at Meatloaf when he's a game show host. It's different when we are living in the effects of it. Like, it's hospitals closing in places that only have one hospital. Like, it's not fucking funny. That's what I'm struggling with. It's not funny.
I think that, look, there's a lot that's happening right now that should be more bipartisan than it is right now. At least if you were to go with the ley lines of where people's political compass was before. This should be more of Democrats agreeing with Trump and Republicans disagreeing with Trump if anybody had any actual fucking compass of ideology. This should be more of a bipartisan administration. And if it were, I think you'd probably see more leeway for things to happen differently. If I'll put it this way, if there were Democrats that wanted to sign on to the one big beautiful bill, you probably wouldn't have seen those Medicaid cuts because they were close to not happening before. And then they wound up getting rammed through because the hardliners on the right were the ones that needed to be placated and not anybody on the left that would have given different leeway to things. But instead, we're in this not only a world that is topsy-turvy, that theoretically should be mixing things up coalitionally a little bit because the voters are already being mixed up. The representatives aren't. And so they're eventually going to wind up paying a price for it. But representatively, there should be more of a goulash, and it's not happening. Everyone's just kind of pretending that they're super cool with these things that otherwise they would be totally uncool with going forward. If there was, I feel like we'd be in a better place. And instead, we're in this crazy situation where it's fully separated. Everything is oppositional to another thing that's oppositional. And the only way that anybody knows how to deal with it is just start screaming about another thing. Mm-hmm. And it's insane.
The government is going to be shut down by Democrats to prevent Biden era funding numbers from going forward. It's like, just make it make sense. Make it make sense. But you're right. I mean, we said this right after the election. I was hoping that they would play this differently this time. Instead of just resisting every single thing, like find the places, like try some flattery. This guy is so like narcissistic. You have these tech guys that are going in for this dinner, all of them filleting Trump, just going around the table, but they're getting what they want. And not a single Democrat has figured out that he likes to be flattered and that there's some things that they could get. And he wants to be flattered
by Democrats so bad. It's what he's always wanted. He just wants Nancy Pelosi to say a nice thing about him. That's all he wants. He wants Chuck Schumer to say a nice thing about him. That's like he craves it. He wants the Washington Post to say, you want to know what? Good job, Donnie.
I know.
You would kneecap his entire administration if there was just one headline in the New York Times that said, Donald, you were right. Like that would be it. He would just melt into a puddle and he would just say, like, you want to know what? Abortions, 9 months, sometimes 10 or 11. I don't know. I could be talked into it. Like he's
easily manipulated. And they haven't figured that out yet. And it's
because their base is so insane right now. Mm. Their base is so hungry for anything that is because they've been gassed up by their stupid representatives about how this is fascism and this is the worst thing that's ever happened. And if Kamala Harris didn't win, then everyone's going to camps and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, and so now they're like, oh my God, we're living in the end times. Everything is so fucking dark. And like, look, there is shit that's happening. It's not to say that there's not, but you got to understand where the political ley lines are and just, I don't know.
You can't manipulate the guy if you're not in the room. And right now they're preventing any of them from being allowed into the room by being just obstinate as a party. You know, like it's just a dumb strategy and it's going to have real effects. And
we're not wrongpod@gmail.com. That's where you get to write in. Let's talk about Trump being dead for 12 hours in the minds of fucking blue sky psychopaths. Moving the Mountain to Mar-a-Lago writes, to stick up for the liberals on Twitter, I think the majority of people knew he wasn't dead and they were just having a ton of fun. Aside from the people very seriously tracking Pentagon pizza orders and webcams outside of Walter Reed. Many were speculating that Trump had suffered a stroke that suddenly made him ultra woke. My favorite joke was that he converted to Islam. Only one problem, I don't think he could get all the way through his recitation of the Shahada without getting extemporaneous. There is no God but God, folks. Isn't that right? And Muhammad, great guy, interesting character.
God, maybe that'll be the final head trip is Donald Trump just converts to Islam. I can't think of anything that would scramble everybody's brain more than Donald Trump becoming a Muslim. That would be, it would prove that we're living in a simulation and a weird one.
Or it'll prove that he's
these policies, ICE is very halal. It is not many people say it's haram. It is halal.
Yeah. But he's not loyal. Like, he was a Democrat. He's not loyal to them.
Oh, I'm not saying he'd be a good Muslim. I just think it'd be a really funny day. I just think it'd be a really funny Rose Garden speech.
And I wouldn't put it past him. If there was some kind of benefit to him, I think he would absolutely do it. Like, I don't think he has any actual principles. I think he just goes where the wind blows.
He cows, he immediately begins to take equity out of that agreement. Like, you saw this with the pro-life movement. He put on the Supreme Court justices. They pulled out Roe versus Wade. He is done giving things to the pro-life movement.
Yeah.
He was like he left it to his deputies to placate them on the rules at the RNC. But he knew that they couldn't fight. And his stated thing to them was, I gave you what you wanted. Now let me operate. And so he's doing the same, like fucking gun control. Like, I don't think people realize that, like, people are looking at it on the identitarian side of him saying that, like, or floating that transgender people shouldn't own guns. That's the kind of shit that would have gotten $200 million worth of NRA money dumped on your head for suggesting it. In the past, that a Republican
and he's floated stuff like that in the last administration. He did that where, like, I don't remember what the context was, but he's like, maybe we should have more gun control. And like, it was kind of a mic drop moment because everybody was like, wait a minute, I thought you were a Republican. It turns out that's not something he particularly cares about.
No. Blame the media, writes. I found myself at dinner with friends that were convinced that the administration was hiding Trump's death. We ended up finding a video of him at a golf course talking to people to prove that he was in fact alive. I'm not used to hearing that level of distrust in media coming from the left side of the aisle. I think it proves that legacy media has a long way to go if they want to be trusted again by the American people on either side of the aisle. The coverage of President Biden caused so much credibility for legacy media. Notice I'm being careful to say legacy media because I think some of the less mainstream sources are currently more trusted.
Yes. And they also lied us into the Iraq war. I mean, this has been going on for a long time. Biden was definitely a step in this direction, but there's been a lot of lies.
By the way, Kamala Harris's book excerpts came out this morning as we record this, where she's like, Biden was really old. I think it was really reckless for him to run. And it's like,
yeah. Good. Wow. What a brave leader.
It's like I'll just catapult into the sun. You're just useless. What a useless person.
Go hiking with Hillary forever.
But if you're going to spend that much time with Hillary, make sure that everybody knows which hand is your shooting hand. Just ask Mr.
Foster.
Two all beef patties writes, if Kennedy had died ODing on dick pills and was found dead with several women who weren't his wife, he would not have any sympathy. If Trump dies because he's eating McDonald's every day for half of his life, he won't have any sympathy either. Also, Justin, on your show, you've talked a lot about how every time Trump promotes a candidate other than himself, that candidate loses. Almost no one likes Trump's ideas, but a lot of people like Trump. His ideas, when they come from other people, always lose. I think that's a willful misinterpretation of what I've said. I think that when he promotes unpopular candidates, thinking only his sheer force of will can get them over the line, that does not make them any better candidates and they wind up losing. I don't think he has unpopular policy positions. I think that by and large, his policy positions are more centrist than people give them credit for, and they are more 80-20 than certainly the left side of the aisle wants to think. Now, not every one of them, and I'm sure someone's going to jump up and scream something that's unpopular, but by and large, I think he has a more centrist record than his opponents want to give him credit for, and it is at their peril.
And I think the reason that we're seeing the actual policies that are becoming law and the damage that we're seeing in the right-wing direction is because those are the only people being nice to him. And so he's being nice back. I do think that if Democrats and lefties were playing the game, he could be drawn towards the center. But right now, there is literally zero people on the left side of the aisle that are thinking
if there were 3 Democrats in the House that wanted to vote for the big, beautiful bill, those Medicaid cuts would not be in it. I'm telling you, I mean, like the only reason why the Medicaid cuts were in it was because
there were Republicans that were against it that
on the right.
Yeah, like there was internal opposition on it. I think you're probably right on that one, Justin.
Stop! You're laughing for the wrong reasons. Writes, does Justin not understand the difference between mocking somebody and emulating them? He speaks about Newsom as though he's popular because he's talking like Trump. No, he's popular because he's mocking Trump in an era where politicians are afraid to do it.
I think Justin knows that.
You're right, emailer. Gavin Newsom is the brave liberal who finally can mock Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Never have I known a Democrat who would dare do such a thing for the last 10 years. No, you're right. No, it's totally coincidental that he's doing the exact thing Trump does and everybody's excited about it. There's no correlation that liberals are like, oh, look, Republicans have so much fun when that happens. Now somebody's doing it on my side. Now I get to be excited. You're right. It's only because he's mocking him, something no Democrat has ever done in the history of politics to Donald Trump. Totally unmockable before that.
I don't think they've done it as effectively, though. Gotta hand it to Gavin. He's doing it effectively. It's funny.
I'm saying it's effective because there is a repressed element of our liberal cohort that believes that they have not had fun, that they have taken the high road like Michelle Obama told them to, or when they've tried to take the low road, nobody has listened to them because they're talking about shit that nobody cares about. But if you talk like Trump and Republicans get mad at it, they can own the cons, and that is what they're thrilled about. They're thrilled about Republicans getting mad about Gavin Newsom writing a thing. And that's why they circulate the Fox News clips. That's why they retweet random Red Hat accounts on Twitter and they say, oh, cry more, because that's literally the playbook of the right. That's what the right has done since 2015. This is the exact same thing that has happened in the past. And it might be new to the left and they might be enjoying it. I'm telling you, it's the fucking exact playbook. And Gavin Newsom's doing it. And he has understood that it's a copycat league. Do the exact same thing and you might get the same result. But it doesn't mean that it's not the exact same thing. It's the fucking exact same thing.
I guess.
Again, it's like fucking why pay attention? Why pay attention for any longer than 5 minutes if you're going to be like, well, 6 minutes ago this happened. And everyone's like, oh, I don't know. It's totally fucking different now. It's like, no, it's fucking not. He's using all caps. He's saying the thing. He's putting up weird AI slop fucking images. This is the exact same shit.
I'm
sorry
confused.
for yelling.
No, I love that you're yelling. You're entertaining the hell out of me right now. But like the ideas that liberals haven't had fun, like we have the Daily Show and Colbert and
they've all gotten
Myers
more serious and more claptery. They have all gotten less fun since Trump. All of them. Not to say they're not fun.
I think the Republicans are having more
talented.
fun than the. I don't like the fun they're having. I don't like the whole owning the libs thing. Like I don't like trying to go out and troll people. It's just not something I'm a big thing on. I do think the Republicans are having more fun during the Trump years than the Democrats are having, and during the Biden years for that matter. Like they're when I've gone to events, a lot of the time the Democratic events feel like funerals. The Republican events feel like parties. They're having fun.
I think it's indicative of Republican normies, the people that are in the parties and go to the parties, as just not being all that serious. I think that's also a part of it. I think right now you're seeing a lot of people concerned for justifiable reasons. Like we kind of brushed over the idea of there being camps, but there are fucking camps. Like they're real. I saw indefinite detention on American soil legalized in a law this year, and a couple laws this year, actually. So it's like there are really scary things happening. And I think one side is taking it seriously and the other one is like, we're going to own the libs. So I think there is a part of just one side cares more about policy
Jen,
and the effects
how much
on
better
humans,
will it
and
be?
the other one cares about winning.
How much better will it be when both of them are trying to own each other? Just imagine that, when it's the Democrats trying to own the Republicans, the Republicans owning the libs, and we create a Ouroboros of circle jerks.
Yeah.
I don't like the race to the bottom.
An ownership
that's
society, which is what Bush laid out.
Yeah. No, I don't like the Republicans. The Republicans do something bad, so the Democrats are like, that gives us permission too. Like, I don't love that strategy.
Yeah, like Gavin Newsom saying he's going to
it.
try to get rid of independent congressional districting in California because the Republicans are gerrymandering in Texas. Like, yeah, I'm not super impressed with that line of reasoning.
So I've looked into this a little bit more. His proposal is to get rid of the independent redistricting temporarily. It would come back. Hold on, before you interrupt me. I just want to say that like he's not trying to get rid of it forever. And the man does kind of have a point. Like the Republicans in Texas are openly trying to rig the next election. There's no hiding what they're trying to do. They're trying to give 5 seats to the Republicans by changing the maps mid-cycle. when you have one team that's rigging the election, what is the other team supposed to do? So it's like, do I support the race to the bottom? No, I don't. But I also don't support the Republicans rigging the election to the point that the Democrats can't win it. So it's like, now, I do think that the voters have a role to fucking play here, because if we would stop voting predictably all the time, then maybe this wouldn't work. I also think that by taking dark red districts in Texas and making them pink, this could all completely backfire. I get that. But you also have to acknowledge the open rigging of the election that's happening on the Republican side. And I think that's
gerrymandering is rigging it. I do not think the moral high ground or ultimate political strategy should be, when somebody's being anti-democratic, we will become anti-democratic to balance them out. If the argument is democracy is important and we care about rule of law and the voters being able to select the representatives, the way to get there is not by going, well, we'll just do it for our version to compensate for the baddies. I don't think the race to the bottom is going to be a good call at all. I think
also that commission ain't coming back if it goes away. Like, I don't fucking buy it for a
I mean, it's in the referendum that it
It's
would.
in the
so.
yeah, I'm sure there's not going to be something else that happens that will make sure that the people that are in that body don't get to protect their own fucking safe districts.
I'm not defending this.
Here.
I'm explaining the rationale behind it. And I am saying, like, I prefer the Democrats run on, we are running for something, which is democracy. This is a rigging. Hey, people of Texas, like, you are getting fucked here. I would prefer that they go to the people in these now pink districts and be like, every one of you Democrats needs to show the fuck up. Like, I think there is a democratic way to win this despite the rigging.
Yeah.
But we have to acknowledge the blatant rigging.
Sure.
We have to acknowledge
What if
it.
the Texas Democrats went to those districts and tried to raise money and voter awareness and voter registration instead of going to lobby bars in Albany and Chicago and being fucking Gallagher props
alternately,
for the presidential election?
I defer to my colleague Jen on this one because I don't remember the specific history of this, but 3 or 4 years ago, was there not a bill in the House and the Senate that would have limited the ability to do gerrymandering, and Chuck Schumer shot it down? Am I right in thinking that was something that...
No, that's not how that happened. So my theory is the Democrats in the House created a package of ideas for election reform. It was their HR1. It was their number one priority. Yeah. But in it had like paper ballots. It had independent districts required for federal elections. It had a lot of really good stuff in there, but it also had a campaign finance system that was a little like it would give tax money to candidates. People didn't really like it, but they passed it. And then when it went over to the Senate, they just let it die. And so instead of being like, okay, it died in the Senate because of this campaign finance thing, when the Democrats had the chance to break it up, and so like pass paper ballots, which I think most people agree on, pass independent redistricting, they just did nothing for the rest of the term. So they passed HR1. I want to say it was early. It was like no later than March.
That was when Schumer was in charge of the Senate, though, right?
Hold on a second.
Yes,
but that's like, it was never going to pass because of the filibuster. So it's like, you can't really put that on Chuck Schumer. It is what it is. But what they could have done is taken the political capital that they had and broken up the bill. Instead, they said, like, Nancy Pelosi in the House just threw their hands up and like, we did our part. We're done. We're going to move on. No,
because they wanted to use it to get rid of the filibuster. And it was Manchin and Sinema that stepped in the way of doing that. That's what they wanted to do. And that's where Biden came out and said, this was Jim Eagle. This isn't Jim Crow, that the Georgia law was racist and blah, 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 blah. Like, that's where all that was.
Which is fine, but then you take the stuff that is agreed upon on both sides of the aisle and you pass it independently. There were no individual bills, and they just didn't.
Yeah.
So yes, Andrew, you're absolutely right. The idea has been in the Democrats in the House, but just strategically, it was a half-assed attempt.
Right, and I would prefer that
maybe that would have been good for them to do, as they are now going to face a continuing problem with this, because if you think it's bad now, wait until after the 2030 census, because like these districts right now don't count for all the COVID migration. Mm-mm. Like, that isn't going to be counted in the same way, because that census was ongoing as people were flooding into Florida and Texas and states like that, and out of the blue wall, out of California, which is probably going to lose more seats in the 2030 census as well. So like, look, whatever. I don't know. We'll do another thing on fucking Prop 50, but that district is not coming back. I don't give a fuck what it says in the prop.
Well, I also don't think the resolution is going to pass. It has to pass. Like the California voters have to say yes to this. So there's a whole process that needs to happen before Gavin's idea is even possible. And he says he's going to drop it if Texas drops it. So it's like right now it's just a political football. It's all
Texas.
Words.
It's over in Texas.
It is, but like it's a political football. Like here in California, a referendum has to happen first, and that's kind of a big deal. So cool your jets on that one. They can't just do it the way the fucking Texans did.
And I actually trust the people of California to vote right on that and decide that they don't want to try to match gerrymandering with gerrymandering.
I think it's going to pass.
You think it'll pass?
I think it's going to pass. Yeah.
I don't.
I think.
But we'll see.
Obama's going to come out and do a bunch of stuff. They're going to dump $100 million worth of ads into the markets. They're going to run on fuck Texas. Texas is killing democracy, save democracy by voting for this. The only chance that it has of not passing is right now, if you word stuff differently in the polling, if you word it as like, do you want to kill the independent redistricting thing? It's like 70-30. People don't want to kill the independent commission. But if you word it as Texas is killing democracy, do you want to save it? They're like 70-30. Yes, we do. So the question is going to be the messaging battle in the minds of the voters. Who are you going to believe more? And I think that the Democrats have enough money and enough sway and an off year election to get that ball over the 50-yard line, which is what they need to do. And so I think it's going to go away, and the independent commission is going to go away, and it's never going to come back.
Well, both of you would know this better than me. You pay more attention to California politics than I do. But 2 years ago, they had a referendum on whether or not to remove the restrictions on race-based admissions in universities and to have to remove color blindness and application processes. And that was something that was promoted by the Democratic apparatus within California, and voters voted against it because they thought that, this is racial quotas. This is actually having racism built into the system. You don't want to do that. So I don't know. I've got more faith in the people of California to go, we're not going to match gerrymandering with gerrymandering, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, there's people of principle on the Democratic side of the aisle that aren't buying into the idea of the Democrats being the party of democracy when over and over again they do undemocratic things. And this is just another example of it. So that's why I don't think I'm here. I've been here all summer. So I've talked to people about this, and even the people that are like full blown, like fuck Texas, they don't want to do this. So, I think that there's people here that truly believe in democracy, and they see this as just playing the same dirty politics that the Republicans do, and they don't want to be on a team that behaves this way. And it's one of the things I think that they should be proud of, but at the same time, I'm also afraid of the Republicans successfully rigging it for a generation or two, or I don't know. Like the Republicans, they're just so fucking shameless. So I just think
their argument is that the reason why Democrats can't effectively fight back is because they've already gerrymandered all their states as much as they can, where they control everything.
But you know what? You can say both sides do it, but if you look at the number of states that are gerrymandered by Republicans versus Democrats, like the Republicans are kicking their asses. So they had Project Red Map. I mean, they've been cheating this way since 2010. Like this was an organized effort to cheat.
So Eric Holder wasn't
do it better.
Doing the same thing?
Again, you have to look at the overall picture. Like Illinois.
Who started it?
Totally.
He started it.
Republicans.
He started it.
Republicans.
No, this has been going on a long time. This is not. The Republicans supercharged it with computers.
Open rigging.
They did a better job at it with computers, but gerrymandering's been going on for a while. I don't know who gets that party started, but it goes back to 1789 or so. So it's deplorable. We shouldn't be doing it.
I do think that we are scraping the bottom of the barrel now. And right now, the Democrats are out of bullets and the Republicans still have some in the chamber. And that's the reason why they're going to be able to push this possibly beyond a margin to keep the control of the chamber in the midterms, is because they can gerrymander in Texas, because they didn't go as far as they needed to go in their mind during the actual redistricting. Same with Florida, same with Indiana, same with Missouri, wherever else they're looking to push this, is that you have Texas. You can't really gerrymander Illinois anymore. Maybe you can squeeze a seat out of there, but that's already fucking gerrymandered within an inch of its life. And a lot of the other northeastern states where Democrats have control in the House, Senate, and governor's mansion, some of them don't even have Republican seats. They've gerrymandered them. So it's like, I don't know. At this point, I think it's futile to start pointing out and saying like, hey, who started what and who's being the most dirty and disgusting, because there's plenty of blame to go around. The question is where we want to go from here. And also, what is representation? Like are we representing by communities, by like-minded interests for which you would want one representative to go and support you? At which point, like, do I want a super liberal nominee because I live in a zip code that votes liberal more predominantly? Or do I want somebody that has more in common with some of the hill country area that is more mixed, that is more 50-50, if not conservative leaning? Like, we have to have a conversation on what these fucking things are supposed to mean, or just say grid. That's it. It doesn't matter. Fight it out. You get a grid and that's it. We're going to lay one over the entire United States and them's the districts. That's it. It's drawn by ChatGPT once every 10 years and everybody else can pound fucking sand. But that would be a lot of a loss of state control, which nobody wants, especially when you're trying to protect your phony baloney job.
I mean, I obviously agree with you that we have to move forward with like figuring out a better system. But for 2026, we have to acknowledge the situation that we have, which is that Republicans have gerrymandered more states and that they're openly doing it. I don't think it's fair to say, well, both parties do it. At this point,
while both parties are doing it?
Yes. And the reason is one party has done it in such a coordinated fashion in so many more states that it leans so far Republican that it is a bigger concern when Republicans are doing it in this moment. Now, the overall solution is no one should be allowed to do this. And I don't think that it helps the Democrats' cause that they do it. If they were smart, which we have discussed many times, even today, that they're not, they would make sure that every one of their states is independent. Like, they would actually own the high road so that they could look at the Republicans and say, you guys fucking suck. You're cheaters. We don't do this. Like, you have to be better to claim to be better. The Democrats aren't doing that. I acknowledge all of it. But right now, the Republicans have jerry-rigged so much more effectively than the Democrats that I think their cheating is the bigger concern.
Jen, would you vote in favor of letting Democrats gerrymander more states to balance them out? Would you favor that if it were put before you?
No, if I were a California voter, I would vote no on that. Okay. Because just like, I don't think the low road is the place to go. But
fantastic.
I heard Gavin's explanation.
Sure.
I thought it deserved a hearing since all of us had said we disagree with it.
I appreciate that.
I'm for accelerationism. Let's push it all. Let's gerrymander every fucking street until we have any kind of political will for a solution. Because right now, people only want a solution when their party is disadvantaged. That's the only time that anybody feels that they want a solution. When their party's in the fucking driver's seat, they're like, I don't know. I think it's fine. I think it's okay for right now.
I don't think that's true. Because California, the Democrats on the state level have had the whole goddamn state, and yet they still voted for independent redistricting commissions. So it's I don't think that's necessarily
independent
true.
Redistricting commissions aren't partisan, but they tend to be in favor of retaining incumbency. And so in a one-party state, that does favor Democrats. Like, I don't know. But again, this gets into like, what are we really serving for? Are we serving for if 40% of a state votes for the opposition party? So that's like Massachusetts, for example. If I think it's like 36% voted for Trump. Should that be the guideline by which we have representatives? Should that be the guideline that we say like, all right, then there should be one or two out of their allotment of representatives that are of that party? Or is it like it is now where they're like, no, if you actually look at where these conservatives live, they don't really matter.
They're all in the mountains.
Landmass perspective. So they have no representatives at all whatsoever. Like, it depends. And so for those who are not watching, Jen said, gave a shrug of fuck them. So it's like, sure, then we need to understand that is a perspective. And if that's a perspective, then we are giving license to gerrymandering throughout the country because we are allowing a subjective determination state by state of where these things go. Because when we look at it from our perspective, which is the top down, who shows up in DC and how that chamber is determined, then we get into a like, oh, well, you took one away and you're giving one back to the other side. Whereas the actual place that these are done, we have to have a philosophical agreement about what those lines should mean, who they should represent.
It was not a fuck 'em shrug. It was just more of like, I know that in Massachusetts, like the people that would vote red, they're all in the mountains. They are just outnumbered by the rest of the state. And so if they don't have a full district, they can't fill, a full district. Like, yeah,
see, I think that there are better,
a red seat.
I think that there are better ways to do this. Like, I wouldn't do this in every state, but like I'll volunteer Oklahoma, where I'm from. Oklahoma, I would be happy to have at-large congressional districts in Oklahoma. I think we'd have 7 of them. If you had 7 at-large congressional districts in Oklahoma, they would be less geographically.
What do you mean by at-large? Because when you say
statewide, there's not that it's not voting by district.
Yeah, so like Oklahoma right now, it's like, let's say it's 60-40. That's probably it, maybe 70-30. So let's say it's 70-30. Of Republican voters to Democratic voters. 0 Democrats get any representation from the Oklahoma delegation, even though there's a sizable amount of them, but they get 0 representation. I think it would be better for my state. I wouldn't do this for every state, but for a lot of states, I would go, it would be better to just do it the same way you do Senate campaigns, where we're all going to go in there. That way, of the 7 representatives we get, 5 of them are Republicans, 2 are Democrats. And you're getting more people having representation.
So you would say just a big ass list and everybody gets 7 votes and the top 7 vote getters go.
That's how I wouldn't do it in every state. I would do it in a lot of states. I'd be happy to do it in my state. I think most states that are smaller would be better to do that. Like the smaller your state is, the less important the geography is. California, I don't think that would work for. I think California is so large, there are really big geographic disparities there. With Oklahoma, the overall economy in terms of agriculture and energy is somewhat uniform. It's really like there's 2 urban centers and then everybody else is kind of in the same boat. I don't think it would be particularly disenfranchising. And I think that the people are voting much more ideologically than geographically now anyway. Historically, we have this electoral system predicated on the idea that your geographic unit's the most important thing, and you're voting for your geographic interests. But now people vote ideologically. They vote for the party. And so I would have a big list, and then you'd see that like Massachusetts, I don't know how many members, how many representatives they have. You get 1 or 2 Republicans that would be in there, but it would more accurately reflect the population of Massachusetts. It would more accurately reflect the population of Oklahoma.
I agree. I am pushing for Heaton's reform because it values name recognition and novelty in a gigantic list. The names that stick out the most are going to be the ones that are rewarded. And so I am moving to Oklahoma. I am renaming myself Gun Cowboy Pussy Man.
Great.
And I am going to be a 10-term congressman from the
Justin, I would fucking love it if you replaced a significant portion of the Oklahoma delegation. So please do that.
That's Representative Pussy Man to you.
Yeah, Representative Pussy Man has my vote.
Let's talk about fucking housing. Jesus Christ, what an episode. Trump already fixed it, right? The Tax Cut and Jobs Act already got rid of tax benefits for people that own multiple homes. Both the state and local tax and mortgage interest deductions were capped to a point that limits the ability to benefit off of paying more property tax or mortgage interest.
I don't think it completely dropped it, but I think it did shift the weight of it, right? Like it reduced the amount of taxes that you could write off on second homes. So your point is taken.
Rental software price collusion writes, one missing aspect of the discussion that you all are having about vacancies in software is that the software company makes the agreements for setting the prices that contractually requires them to charge the amount that they quote. This is the mechanism that enforces the price collusion. The suggested rents are not suggestions. They are actual contractual requirements. That's the part of the agreement that's getting them into hot water. I read this somewhere, but I'm having trouble sourcing the information. So
that wasn't missing from our discussion at all.
Yeah.
I mentioned that when I was doing the physical job, as soon as the software was introduced, like I wasn't allowed to negotiate rents with my tenants anymore. Like,
so I think what they're saying is that was not because I would be confused by this, is that I thought when you said that was like your bosses directed you that now you will obey the machine.
Or that your boss has an autopilot switch and can put it on there. This implies that there's no autopilot switch, that if you have the software, you're legally required to do it.
Yeah, we were just like completely unempowered. Like there was a way, if I remember in the beginning, that my boss could reach out to like the top. Cause like we did have one resident who had been there for 20 years and she got hit with a absolutely astronomical price increase because she was so far from market rent because she had lived there for 20 years. And so we fought for her. But for the most part, we had to start telling residents, like, we understand this rent increases a lot and we don't think it's fair either, but there's literally nothing we can do about it. And that made the job so much harder for us. And like, it was really demoralizing. And it was one of the many reasons I wanted to quit.
7% is normal, writes. I do lending for commercial real estate, mostly apartments. My market is not a large city, so I have no experience with large towers in major cities. But in general, banks account for a 5 to 10% vacancy on residential multi-unit properties. Generally, if they use 5% as their estimate, they can also use 5% as a projection for renovation costs above the vacancy and catch it at the end. A 7% vacancy rate would mean each unit is vacant for 25 days a year. Across a multi-unit property, this is nominal and extrapolates to about 1/2 the units that turn over any given year, and between cleaning, repairs, and marketing, it takes about a month and a half to fill. It isn't indicative of long-term vacancy.
It was Justin that decided to bring in vacancy rates on a national level. So
I didn't do that, did I?
Yeah, you kept going and you're like, it was 7% back then and it's 7% now, but that was not.
Oh, I checked it because you kept bringing up 7%.
Yeah, no, I didn't have a vacancy rate. I didn't look up because the national vacancy rate, I don't think is all that relevant to what I was saying. Okay. What I'm trying to tell people is that once the software was introduced, we would have, like, the national vacancy rate is one thing. What really matters in vacancy is the vacancy of the building you're trying to live in. And so what's happening is that you'll have a unit. I'm thinking of one particular in my building. We just couldn't rent this damn thing. It was on the first floor, super dark, no natural light whatsoever. And so when we had control over the pricing, we used to lower the rent quite a bit to get a body into that place. The software doesn't want to do that. The software wants to keep the price at a certain level. And so the software will decide we'll just leave that unit vacant because, like, if we had to lower the prices, it might drag down all of them. Like, I don't understand what the software is doing, but it's an algorithmic thing that is choosing to leave some units, which would get rented out for a really cheap price. They're choosing to leave those vacant because the higher rates on the other units makes up for the price differences. So those are like the financial calculations that are happening now, that when it was human beings that were making these decisions, we wanted a family living in that box, in that thing. Like, it wasn't a financial decision. It was, we have 444 units. We want 444 families living in this thing. And so the national rate, I don't think tells that story of, yeah, our vacancy rate might have stayed the same, but this unit has been empty for a really long time. There could be a person living there for half the rent as everybody else because this unit fucking sucks, but it's a place for someone to live. And the software is changing the game from what it was when I was in charge.
This is something that still confuses me because, like, let's assume that I'm a slumlord and I just want to make money. That's my only goal. I wouldn't want to I would want to increase the prices as much as I could, and I would want to rent out everything I could. So that's the bit that I'm confused on as to why there would be a financial incentive. The idea is that if they were to lower prices on vacant apartments, that other people would find out and demand lower rent.
I don't know. It's an algorithm. I can't explain what the algorithm is doing. I can just tell you that I've read about, like, the real page software and the way that I saw it work, that, like, as soon as they changed it to this software, we would have units that would just sit vacant for a really long time and the prices just wouldn't come down the way you would expect. Like, we would bring down a price manually the longer a place sat vacant. It was just like, we just can't get anyone in there. So it would be like, we'll offer you 2-3 months. Yeah. Like, we would just trying to get someone in there. The software wouldn't do it. And then when I'm reading I can send you the article if you want. Have to dive for it. But, like, I was fascinated because I had witnessed it to learn that this is actually something that these algorithms are doing on purpose. And I don't know if it's because they don't want to even open the idea. Like, I don't get why the robots do what the robots do.
Send it to me because this doesn't compute for me. I believe what you're saying. I just don't understand why it would work that way. And I'd love to understand the rationale on how that happens, just because they want to maximize profit. Like, that is the goal. So they don't want to have unoccupied units unless it does something.
The way they want to do it. They want to maximize profit by maximizing market rate. by making market rate as high as tolerable. And that's a different goal than maximizing the number of people that live in
I hear what you're saying, but if you were to go to these same people and go, can you maximize market rate, but also, like you were talking about earlier, a third of your apartments are not rented right now, you should just lower rates on those in order to get money from them. That's the bit that I'm missing. I don't doubt that they're going to try to get the price as high as they can. They're going to try and get as much profit as possible. But if they're leaving money on the table, which is what this sounds like to me, that's the bit that I don't understand. So if you find the article, please send it to me, because I would like to figure out what's going on.
Sure.
Finally, vacancy tax exists, right? I live in a beach town in Southwest Michigan. My neighbor across the street lives in Ohio for most of the year. 2 houses down from me, that person lives in Chicago for most of the year. These people are basically in my town on summer holidays and a couple weeks a year. My city's website actually allows anyone to look up the property tax due to the city. The neighbors across the street pay more than double what I do, despite my house being larger and nicer, and I bought at the same time as them, relevant only because primary resident maximum yearly increase is capped. They pay more, about $6,000 more a year, simply because I am a year-round resident and they are not. I'm sure if this applies to corporations, but it seems like a problem that might already be addressed.
I'm not sure that actually
localities
is a vacancy tax. It might be, because I don't know Michigan law here, but based on what you're telling me, that almost sounds like the issue that you have is similar to what California has, where there's a cap in the amount of property taxes that can increase every year.
Yes.
Which would in favor you if you're an incumbent, and it would mean that somebody coming in is going to pay much higher taxes because they're going to push that tax burden onto incoming stuff. So it could be a vacancy tax. I kind of doubt it. That being said, though,
it would be a tax on a residence that isn't your primary.
Okay.
Isn't that what we are trying to solve for?
I'm just trying to get as many houses as possible because I want to radically increase supply to bring down prices. That's my goal. One of the ways that you could try to do that is to try to lower the vacancy rate by having vacancy taxes. I like where our head's at on that discussion because it's a systemic way of approaching it, of looking at it in terms of structure and incentives. So I like the conversation. I don't think that would be the most advantageous way to do it. One, if the vacancy rates are similar, that tells me that there's probably not as much give as there used to be. It's also highly variable depending on where we're talking about. And I don't really like vacancy taxes as a blunt tool because it presupposes that you are living in a fixed sum, zero sum situation where they have to be reallocated, but we can grow that pie, which is what we ought to be doing. Like if I go back to Oklahoma and I build a cabin to go spend my fall in, and I do it on rural land that nobody's living on, I'm not taking housing away from anybody, but I am actually creating housing. And at some point I might sell that and it becomes a residential house. So I don't want to do things that disincentivize people from building houses. Like this would be kind of a lobcocked way to do it. If you're concerned with vacationers trying to, get into an area and not having a proportional amount of the spending, like you could modify sales taxes so that when people are coming in for the month of August, sales taxes are higher, and then you use that to subsidize it for everybody else the rest of the time. That to me would be a more incentive way of doing it. But yeah, with the vacancy thing, it could be that there are vacancy laws in Michigan, but it does sound to me, based on what you're saying, that this is a little bit more of
this is a primary residence, so you are capped on property tax if you list it as your primary residence. If you
maybe that's you're not capped on secondary residences.
More.
Yeah, okay.
But also, I don't know if we're really solving the problem that we want to solve for by making sure that rich people can't buy vacation homes in beach towns that don't have a ton of off-season jobs anyway.
No, I don't think so.
I think that if you have a unit of housing that sits empty most of the time, and we're saying that we have a housing emergency, I don't think that that's good. I think that we might need to limit the number of houses that each person gets to have and have empty all the time.
Comrade.
Or they at least have to pay some kind of premium for the benefit of having houses
it sounds
empty.
Like they are paying a premium for that.
Well, we just said that we don't know that they are. There are some places that are starting to do vacancy taxes. So I know like Berkeley, California, because like, of course, they're dancing with the idea if they haven't implemented it already. So it's an idea. But again, that's like, great. I'm not saying vacant, like, I don't know why this got to be such a focus. Go ahead and build more housing, But I also think we just have to look at the buildings we've already built and make sure we're not just building more housing for rich people to own and sit.
Take houses away.
I think it'd be good. I mean, like if I open up that cabin in Oklahoma, I'm not hurting anybody. Like I'm not taking that from anybody else. I'm adding a house. Are you not? No, because it's like if there's derelict farmland that nobody's using, just using it for hunting purposes, I build a cabin there. That's
Sounds
fine.
a little selfish of you.
But we're looking. So that example is one of those things where it's like you're building a house out of nowhere. It's your tiny thing out in the woods. That's not looking at the problem in like West Oakland, California, where you have entire blocks with like one person living there because it's just blight and they're empty homes and investors have bought them and they're sitting on them and trying to flip them. But because they're not selling, they're empty. And like there are places where this is a real problem. We're not talking about your cabin in the woods.
No, but I
am looking also at Cape Cod, where for an entire part of the year, it's empty because the rich people don't want to be there when it's not warm and sunny. And it's like, why are there no jobs? It's because the fucking rich people aren't there. But if people were actually living there, there would be more restaurants. There would be more grocery stores. But because the entire town empties out because it's all rich people, I don't think that's good for anybody. It's not good for housing. It's not good for the town.
With the places that have really high housing costs, they tend to be pretty much across the board places that have restricted supply through zoning. And that is the predominant issue, is that there's high demand. Lots of people want to live in San Francisco. Lots of people want to live in Berkeley and New York City. And it's illegal to build more houses. It's illegal to build up. We need to remove those impediments to allow people to build more.
And I've already agreed. Yeah. I've already said yes. Well, I'm just saying this is an extra thing we need to do, because if you're building up, but then you just let investors buy all of the units, what's the fucking point?
But sometimes people just don't want to live, to your Cape Cod example, they just don't want to live where they fucking don't like the weather. Like, for example, about a year ago, I had a bunch of friends that used to live right in my city. And then one by one, they all left because they didn't want to be in Austin, Texas during the summer.
And
they
how
just
many
didn't
of
want
us
to fucking be there.
How many of us have empty units now sitting in Austin that we are not in?
One of us.
No, there's a human living in Andrew's place, and I gave mine up.
No. Well, I'm not. There's one more person that I'm thinking of right now that definitely has an empty unit. But
well, he should be taxed.
I'm all in favor of being able to make the housing supply.
I would rather have an empty unit on my block than have a rando move in. I don't want a rando moving in.
But it's better for the entire neighborhood for you to have someone living there for those 6 months, to have someone going to the restaurants and going to the grocery stores. And it is actually better. If your entire neighborhood cleared out all summer, that would not be a nice place to live.
I think that there might be some downriver effects of that, though. Like I've never been to Cape Cod. I don't know Cape Cod. But if you had a town that was predominantly...
Terrible place, awful people.
Justin,
if you had a place that was... It was predominantly a tourism spot that was vacation homes. If you just made all the vacation home people leave, but there was no incoming industry to cater to them, and the industry left because it wasn't catering to them anymore, then you just have a bunch of empty houses. And one of the issues that we have with housing stock in the United States is that it's not fungible. That, you know, the places that have the really high prices are where there's high demand. But if you just remove the demand and you had empty houses, I don't think that would solve things. In the same way that we go into like the Rust Belt, places like that, you will find way more houses that are unoccupied. But people don't necessarily want to live there, and the industry's gone. And so just having the more houses there doesn't make a huge difference.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
We're Not Wrong is a production of Dog and Pony Show Audio. Our editor is Will Saddleberg. On PX3 this week, I talk more about the New York City mayoral race with Evan Scrimshaw. And then we do a little bit of shutdown talk with Kirk Beto. But really, I wanted to drill down with him. The vibe in DC. He lives in DC. And, you know, just where we are now with what has happened there. And I don't know, what came out of it was like, nobody seems to disagree that there's less crime. The main contention is that it is uncomfortable and that the National Guard might be doing shit that, while helpful, does not seem like it should be their job, like weed whacking.
I would love it if they did some weed whacking while they're there. Tell them to pick up some trash. That'd be great.
They are. No,
Really?
that's
They
one of the
are.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're weed whacking. So they're beautiful.
Well, I get back on Saturday. If
the
they could take
area.
care of my lawn while I'm gone, that'd be terrific because I'm not.
Yeah, it seems like there's like a thing where it's like, all right, so like these public parks, the homeless people are gone, but there's a tank there. And so it's like, what do you find more disconcerting, the homeless people or a tank?
Oh, we're talking to me?
Tank.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, this is
Yeah.
a philosophical question.
Yeah.
I would say that the tank is less likely to punch my wife in the back of the head like a homeless person did in LA. But you never know. I don't know. I don't know what tank technology they have these days.
I'd be concerned with what they did with the homeless people. Yeah, I don't. I look forward to listening to the episode.
No one knows, but it turns out Soylent Green has never been cheaper. Heaton.
Do you all know the book Nudge came out a few years ago?
No.
Oh,
No.
never mind. Okay. Do you know Oira? No, I'm not even bothered with that. I have Cass Sunstein on the show. Cass Sunstein is a prominent legal scholar from Harvard, and also was in the Obama administration and wrote a book on liberalism and the defense of liberalism. He's on the program.
Nice. What is he
All
talking
right.
about? Some lib shit?
He
Don't dignify that with an answer.
yeah. He talks about some liberal shit.
He's just trolling you.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I got out of the conversation with Cass is that a lot of the fights that we were having in the 1990s and 2000s, in retrospect, were in-family fights where people largely agreed. And one of the phenomena that we're seeing now is that we're having out-of-family fights where there was sort of consensus on pluralism, individual rights markets, things like that. And that those are beginning to chip away. And we're going, oh shit, like Romney versus Obama, that was a pretty good time. And like at the time, everybody was fighting like cats and dogs. And now that the range of debate has expanded so much, there's a little bit of, whoops, I got along better with people than I thought I did back then.
That's funny. That's that an Obama era official is like who demonized these Romney Republicans? Like, we're all looking for the people that did this. Anyway, Jen, the congressional dish.
So we went over the last 8 months in Congress on the last episode of Congressional Dish, and it's really broken down into 2 parts. You'll find out about all the laws that were passed. I brushed over some because we did full episodes on them, but I think a lot of those regulation killers, I think people should know about them because some of them are going to affect you financially. They're definitely going to affect you environmentally. And then the second half, we took all of the most interesting nominations from my last week in Congress episodes. And so I think there's like 25 of them, just like in a row, all of the nominations that my assistant found the most interesting. And so, they're just in the order that they were confirmed. And it's kind of fascinating to listen to it one after another. We got some real characters in there, but that's also a good way to find the example of what I was talking about, where some of them are just like, I don't see any reason for this opposition. So if you want to kind of get a sampling of, it wasn't close to all of them, but it was just the ones that, we thought were worth the public's
Notable.
time. Yeah. So it's, I actually am pretty happy with the way the episode turned out. One of the things I've struggled with Congressional Dish is keeping it current. And so I think these types of episodes are really going to help. I love the deep dives, but I think we also need to know what's happening in real time. And I think this type of episode it will not be the last.
It
Let's
sounds
just say
like
that.
it's been popular with the audience, so I'm glad to see you continue doing it. People are
The
talking
la-
about it at least.
Yeah, the last week in Congress episodes are a huge hit with the people that are paying for my show. And so we're trying to find a way to incorporate that into the main episodes as
main
well.
feed.
So there are some changes coming. We're trying to, 13 years, I still haven't quite figured out how to do this goddamn thing, but we're getting closer.
It's
So.
a never-ending dialogue with you and the audience, just giving the people what they want. Anyway, that's it for us. For Jen Briney and Andrew Heaton, I'm Justin Robert Young saying, we're not wrong. What did we talk about? Oh, the Bureau of Labor Statistics were over the last 12 months between March 2024 and March 2025.
Facts.
Dog and Pony Show audio.